Hello, everyone, and welcome to another trip to Nintendoland. That's right. It's here. The summer is here. God, do I not enjoy it, but it's here nonetheless. I enjoy it for some reasons, but not the 90-some degree weather we've had in the past couple days. That's been miserable. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Burgess, and I am joined by Alex O'Neill. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Yeah, hanging in there. We've come out of what would you say, a deep, almost like comatose state that is living inside of Hyrule, our Hyrule comatose state, as it were. Because I'm sure everybody knows by now, Tears of the Kingdom has been out for a few weeks. We both have dug pretty deep into it. I was literally playing it right before we were recording this. Now we're recording this for the weekend. I've jumped back in. I've finished it. We both have finished it, and we're definitely going to talk all of our experiences so far later in the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah,
be warned.
Be
if
warned.
You've not played this game. Just go play it.
Be warned. We are two people with like. I looked at the clock right before this. I'm at 190 hours somehow. I don't even know how I got to 190 hours. Played a lot of this video game. Yeah. And had it also just sitting on a TV screen for a lot of those hours too, to be fair. But played a lot of it. And yeah, we'll definitely talk. We're definitely going to be talking about that for sure later in the episode. But we do have a couple news items to talk about before that, as well as, you know, it is the month of June. And as most Nintendo fans and video game people know, that's the time of the year where it's like time to get video game announcements thrown at our face and dumped on us. That's definitely the time we're in. So we're definitely going to do some. I think we can speculate on some potential June directs, Nintendo directs. Has been a while. Maybe late in the summer. We don't know. We'll think about it. Maybe we can look through and see like what. Because to be honest, I don't fully remember all of what Nintendo has slated for the rest of the year. I know there's like one or two things. But maybe we can go off that and see if we have something. But we do know one thing now that they have announced. They just recently announced in the most like thrown away tweet from a video game company I have ever seen. This was posted on June 1st at 9:08 p.m. From Nintendo of America. Literally, all it reads is "Everybody Want to Switch" is coming to Nintendo Switch on June 30th. Pre-order now, and it's literally no other information, like no like trailer. It is just an image with a bunch of people with some Joy-Cons in their hand and some person with that weird horse mask on.
Oh, look, it's Horse Mask Guy.
Yeah, it's Horse Mask Guy. Everybody's favorite Nintendo character. Boy, this was I guess a weird one, right? A weird announcement to see from this at 9 o'clock at night from Nintendo. Yeah.
In fairness, like the only appropriate way to announce a follow up to 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. But yeah, that's happening, I guess. I'm pretty sure like there was somebody in the game press like had known about this, because I remember there being an article a few months ago. I don't really remember who it is off the top of my head, but I remember hearing about like they were working on it internally, and I guess it was so bad that Nintendo didn't want to put it out. At the time, they were like saying like it went through like, you know, play testing and stuff, and people were just being like, "This is like boring and just not good."
I remember I think we talked about this on Nintendoland. So
I think you're right. Yeah,
because it was like around that same time that Fire Emblem Engage had leaked as well.
Right. Yes.
And people knew that game like existed like 7 months before it was even announced. And that was similar of like that game is done. They were just kind of holding on to it.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe they got this game up to a level of quality that is acceptable to tweet about at the very least.
Acceptable to put on the eShop, and it's only a $30 video game, so I guess that's also worth mentioning, because I think even the first game might have been a full price game. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was a launch game.
Yeah, it was a launch game. But yeah, this is like, man, this was definitely that moment of like, wow, yeah, we're way more at the end of the Switch life cycle than it really does feel like when you just throw this out at us. Like, boy,
Yeah. What a great follow up to the Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, the next game that got slated, baby. Next big Nintendo summer release. You thought there was no games coming out. Nintendo was done. You're wrong. Everybody
thought it was Pikmin
Switch.
Time. No,
we
got to get this little poop. We got to squeeze out right before that.
Oh God! But yeah, that's June 20th. That'll be out. I like that. I went to the link in the tweet for pre-ordering. It's literally just 2 images. It's the image that's in the tweet, and then it's just like 2 people, like with like the Joy-Cons making like the dorkiest faces ever. So I guess there has to be like some kind of trailer wherever that image came from. I have no idea.
Oh my God, you're so right. This is definitely pulled from whatever trailer that maybe they decided they weren't going to put out.
Yeah, we don't want people making memes of this for like the next week, and they at least wait till June 20th to like rip our game to shreds. Basically, is what that feels like. Not much else to gain here from it, but it seems like it'll just be similar, where it's grab Joy-Con controllers or smart devices for team-based games that are easy to set up and feature everything from balloons to aliens and more. So there you go.
Got it.
Balloons and aliens. Yeah,
that's probably like what they were working on.
Oh yeah, and that is in the image too. Now that I'm actually more paying attention.
Oh yeah,
not just like glossing over this image. Is one section of the people there's like 5 people with Joy-Cons, and then there's 5 people with smart devices. It's like they're holding them over their heads.
Yeah,
so
and
that's interesting.
The horseman in the purple tuxedo is holding a Joy-Con in one hand and a smartphone in the other.
Phone. Oh boy. How do you think? Like, you think they could go even further and bone up, making it seem like it might be more accessible having smart devices for this game by making you use both at the same time?
Oh my God!
That's how they're going to bone this game up, right?
I can totally see that.
Where it's like you play this one game real quick with a Joy-Con, and you're like, wait, no, switch to your phone. Switch to your phone right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that could totally happen. I bet there's like one mini game that makes you do that. The Jackbox strategy is certainly a better one for this game, but I don't think it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. It's hard to. I don't think. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be one that the game. Us people who like cover games generally are just going to make fun of this for like a week and then never think about it again. Basically, is kind of the vibe I get from this game ultimately. But sure, Nintendo's getting another game out there, I guess. But other than that, I have a couple other news bits here we can get to. This one was more of just like a cool shout out, because again, I think it's a fun reminder that Sakurai has a YouTube channel where he just talks about game development and stuff. And I think it was about a week ago now, he put up a video about making online play and just general creation and game concepts for Smash Brothers Brawl. So he talked about it. It's like a not super long video, but he basically goes into a little bit more details about like he didn't actually want to do like online play for Smash Brothers Brawl because of just that time, the period of time when the game came out. It was not as easy to make. And he even he should have just says like, I was not the decision maker on this. I just, you got to do your job when you do your job, but I wouldn't have put online in this video game. It's basically like the word he more or less says in that video. And it's pretty funny. But yeah, a really cool video. I definitely recommend, just kind of go checking out it. 'Cause I'm sure he has tons of other stuff I've missed, on that YouTube channel about just talking about like his game development and helping develop games for Nintendo and stuff. And it's a really cool insight to that kind of stuff, because obviously you don't see a lot of that from Nintendo specifically. So seeing it from him especially is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool little video for sure. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, I have to watch his videos more often. I've seen a couple, but I don't like religiously watch them, but I always appreciate his perspective.
Same. Definitely should watch more of those as well. But that one I just noticed that one the other day, and it's like, oh yeah, he's still making videos, and two, that's like a cool thing to cover. Next up here though, a little bit more, and this is a little bit more self-indulgent. I just wanted to rant.
It's true. I wanted to talk to you about this, so this is good.
Yeah. So we talked about Overwatch 2 on this podcast before. It is technically a game you can play on Nintendo Switch. It is not the ideal place, and I wouldn't consider it like a big Nintendo game. But hey, Blizzard has come out and now said they are ostensibly quote in big quotation marks canceling the PvE aspect of Overwatch 2. Some would say the main thing that would have made it the reason to make a sequel to Overwatch. Now they've kind of elaborated in some of this. One, there's like there was like the announcement stream they did when they announced this, and one, it's like a effectively bad stream because it was like a 45-minute stream. I think it was it's like a super long stream, but like literally like 35 minutes of it or more were spent on this like limited time game mode that was in Overwatch at the time. It was called like Star Watch, and it was like this limited mode they did in the game where it was like a PvE VP thing where it's like you had like somewhat standard Overwatch control map going on, but there was like extra like AI controlled characters and like turrets and units around the map that would like assist you depending on like which like areas of the map you would capture or which team you were on or whatever.
Sure.
So that was kind of a thing they did, and like they spent so much of the time talking about that thing, and they promoted this stream as like, we're talking about the future of Overwatch 2 and like get ready for the future, and they like promoted it like that. They literally, when they tweeted it out, they put a roadmap, like a proper roadmap for Overwatch 2 up of like, here's season 5 and a bunch of the events coming in season 5. Here's season 6. Guess what? Here's story missions, and they have like a big image in that roadmap that's like, here's the single player moment you've been waiting for in season 6, and like a bunch of other stuff. And then they were like, here's season 7, 8 and beyond, or like new heroes, all this stuff. And you're like, whoa, cool roadmap. Like that's cool to like see them like talking about further out, because they really haven't done that yet. So, you jump into the stream and then you just watch like 35 minutes of them just being like, yeah, we really spent a long time making this skin for Soldier 76. Like, look at this. And it's like, okay, yeah, like I get it. You work hard on the stuff that, it's cool to like show off your work and be proud of it. That wasn't the issue. The issue was they spent that long talking about stuff like that, and then like the last like 10 minutes were just like, so yeah, we're canceling PvE. So like the thing we promoted where we're gonna do like skill trees for each character. We were gonna do like make the missions more like replayable over and over again. We're just not doing that anymore. And now they're going to be like more like what they've been for Overwatch so far, where like they will be like story missions that come, I guess, every season, like maybe one a season. They didn't get that specific with it, but now it's going to be like a part of the seasons. You're essentially going to get a story mission you can play through with certain heroes, and then like they'll have events tied around that stuff, and like that's kind of your PvE is kind of what they've already been doing for years, and like none of the stuff they promoted is happening anymore. And obviously, a lot of people were upset by that, because it's like, well, yeah. I personally was like, that was the whole reason I bought the $40 edition or whatever of Overwatch 2 when it came out, and then bought a couple of the seasons prior to that, because I was like, well, I'm not super into playing PvP at this moment, but like I want to get like a cool skin or two so I can play it in this mode. Now this mode just doesn't exist. And it's like, well, yeah, cool, thanks, I guess. I was very curious just to also look at it from like content creators who like play Overwatch more regularly, just to see kind of their more take as like somebody who's like way more dedicated than like anybody kind of I usually see in our kind of like games media circles, like talk about Overwatch and stuff.
Yeah. So that's like who I go and look at as well. Like,
yeah.
Stylosa, I think is his name.
Stylosa is one. There's a guy called Flats who's like a pretty prominent like streamer of Overwatch. And like, yeah, they were pretty much like, yeah, I'm done with this game. I don't even want to play it. I don't even want to play it anymore. Like you've like like, because it's not even necessarily just about the PvE stuff. It's just like they feel like lied and like strung along for so long, right? Because like you had that whole thing with Overwatch of like they stopped working on Overwatch 1 because it was, you know, because they started making Overwatch 2 and, you know, banked it on this, making this whole PvE stuff. And like the reason behind this, and like the reason behind, you know, they maybe not been making as many PvP updates was like banked on this idea that they've been working on and focused on PvE stuff for so long. And also, you know, we learned, you know, I linked an interview they did. Some of the game directors did an interview with GameSpot, with Timur Hussein, and they basically just outright said, like, when Overwatch 2 launched in October, they already knew this is the case. They were not doing the PvE that was promised, and they didn't say it explicitly then. They just kind of kept making the thing, and now have told us now, almost like a year plus later, that this is not happening. So you have tons of people who have probably spent money on this game, who have, you know, played a bunch of it in hopes that, like, you know, this, you know, it would improve and get better because they are doing all of this PvE stuff. And now that's finally going to be rolling out. They can kind of like start, you know, looking at this larger picture of Overwatch, and now like none of that is happening. And people are just fed up with it, where they're just like, yeah, I'm going to see what this season 6 thing is. And then like, if it's still just kind of what we've been seeing from Overwatch still, but now there's like a basic PvE mission that, you know, maybe we'll get this one PvE mission with this. Will we get more than that? We don't know. Will it just be a thing where, like, you're telling me that, like, if there's going to be a new single player kind of PvE style mission every season, that just means like you're essentially like, think of it like in a Destiny perspective, where it's like you play like a weekly mission, and it's, you know, you play it, and then 3 months later you're waiting for another one to the next season. Yeah. That's like essentially kind of what it could potentially be, and that would be rough. So yeah, just super disappointing, and just has continued this streak of like Blizzard just being not in a great spot developer wise. Although I'm seeing like a lot of really positive buzz about Diablo. I haven't played it at all. I've not really been a Diablo person, but still super disappointing. And it's just like, man, Overwatch just can't really catch a break. Really, it seems like at this point.
Yeah, it's such a like, I was talking to our very good friend Brian Nabishan Jackson about this recently, because we were talking about Sony had their kind of summer showcase where they showed off about 45 different you know, live service video games allegedly. And we were talking about like that bigger kind of concept, like that statistic that Sony put out of like 60% of their development teams are working on live service games. And how it's like, you know, what they're just trying to do is basically throw a bunch of darts against the board, and as long as one sticks and they can cash cow that one, it works. It's like, boy, just what a terrible way to look at video games, you know, especially like live service games, of which you and I've both played many, and are very invested in one and have a podcast on one. It is so hard to make those. You know, we talk about Bungie like every other week at least, and as much as people complain about Destiny 2, it has come so far, you know, and it really like instills like a faith in me with them of like, okay, well, you know, like when we were talking about strand aspects or something, like, hey, maybe this doesn't work, or maybe them taking two things away from the grapple melee, like there's a long-term plan for this. I can believe that. Little things, right? Those little things where like kind of where Overwatch 2 is right now is it's constantly trying to keep up with those little things of like, okay, well, now you can't use Brigitte at all. Like, oh, now Reinhardt's way too good and killing everything, or Genji's overpowered, and that's just all it is right now. And it feels like they're like struggling to keep up with just that, versus like having a game plan for that, and also making story missions, and also making seasons and new characters, right? It's so hard to make these games. And anyone that has figured it out, it's basically a miracle. Especially when you know, like, someone big like Sony is like just throwing darts against the board, because like this is like kind of your best shot, is just to shoot the barrel with a gun and hope you get a fish. Yeah, I feel for Blizzard for sure. But this is not the way. This is not the direction I think they should have gone.
Yeah, I think it was just like a bad. It feels like a top down decision for sure.
Yeah,
because like how many years have I'm sure some of the developers been working on that kind of content, right? Like Overwatch 2019 was when they showed some massive. They had a playable mission at that BlizzCon. I remember when they showed it, I'm pretty sure. So like, how long were they even just working on that stuff even before that, right? So like, just the fact that they have to do that, and that's essentially just like all gone now. Like they had that playable demo. You could see like skill trees, I'm pretty sure, were in that playable demo, and like, things like that were like existed in some shape or form during that period. And that was 2019, and now we're 3-4 years away from that now, and it's like, now it's all gone. Like, it's crazy to like think about like how much they've probably been working on that stuff for way longer, and just now I think, and like, it seems like it came down to that, where it's like the Overwatch 2 started ramping up and finally put out PvP stuff again, and they could start putting out skins and season passes and cosmetics, and now it's free to play, so like a lot more people can get into that way, but also like, have more reason to spend money on it because they got to buy seasons or buy skins and stuff, and they probably start seeing money coming in after Overwatch being so dormant. And now they're realizing like, well, we can't just be like throwing money at this thing that's not really going to guarantee us anything. Yeah. So just throw it in with this stuff that's making us the money to like try and get more money out of that thing that's already doing it. So yeah, it's just really disappointing. And again, like you said, we're very invested in another PvE game in Destiny, and they definitely do some miracle work in some regards, as much as we can have like a gripes about a lot of things in the game. As you said, they still make a lot of work with what they do. So it's tough, it's hard, but it's as ultimately as somebody who just wanted to like play Overwatch in a PvE sense and be invested in that world again, like it just kind of completely lost my interest almost immediately when you hear news like that, and it's like, wow, I don't even know if I'm even going to look at that game again, and it's probably not the reaction they wanted, and but they got to do what they got to do. So we'll see where it goes.
Like you said, I don't know what the path forward is now.
Yeah. Neither do
it's gonna be tough. Maybe all the feedback will change things, but again, that's probably not something we will know for like 2 years.
Yeah. It's like, we heard you want skill trees for these characters. Here it is, like, years later, as down the line they might figure it out. Because I don't think this is going to be a thing where it's like, this is the death nail for Overwatch. Like that I'm sure that game makes plenty of money, and like they said, like, this was announcing like 3 seasons ahead that they're already like planning out and like working on in some regards to an extent, and they have like at least some kind of baseline plans for it. So I don't think it's going to be dumpstering anytime soon, but it's hard to tell where that thing is gonna go. So is what it is in terms of Overwatch 2. But I ultimately just wanted to just rant about this random point. Yeah, I know it's like not something commonly talked about on a Nintendo podcast, but here we are.
This is our outlet. All right.
Just give us this one indulgement, because we're gonna move on from that though, and talk about this. It's the summer. It's the summer, baby.
It is June.
It is June. I wanted to let's pull up and just look at like releases for Nintendo Switch coming up for the rest of this year. Let's see. This is from Nintendo Life. It says 30 games coming up for Nintendo Switch. Because I'm just curious, like, what is, we're in the summer period. Does Nintendo have stuff to show for a Direct? Are they ramping up for a Direct? I feel like we're not really, when it doesn't feel like that energy's there, but at the same time, like, they just kind of like throw that information any time, right? Like, they can just be like like, this, we could drop this, have the common thing where we drop this podcast and like a day later they're just like, here's a Nintendo Direct, and then they just, we have like days after that, that happened. That's definitely happened.
I'll say I am getting the vibe that there will not be a summer Nintendo Direct. That is the vibe that I'm getting. And I did a quick Google look around, and there were definitely folks speculating but also rumoring that it seems like there won't be one. Hard to, obviously it's just rumors, and no one ever really knows what Nintendo's doing. For sure. But yeah, I mean, they've got Pikmin coming out July, I believe.
Pikmin is, I think, like their next real true big game, and that's end of July, I believe.
And then I don't know if we have anything in the fall.
It's just like a bunch of smaller like stuff. Like I've just like, we have like Pokemon DLC coming, and we have Mario Kart DLC still coming. I know those are the two things that popped in my head at least. We don't know if I don't know. I don't think Zelda's going to get any DLC, but who the heck knows? That'd be crazy.
That team deserves a break.
Very, very true. I like other smaller stuff. I have no idea. It's been real. It's really hard. It's really hard to say right now, and I kind of get that vibe too of like, not necessarily want to be a summer direct appear, but maybe just not a June direct. Like I think it could be later, like in like July or even like early August, and just I could see them doing something just right before Pinkman to just give that one last kind of big look at it, maybe right before it comes out, and then with that they show us like what else is coming with the rest of the year for Nintendo, because we don't really know anything about what's beyond that. So I feel like they got to give us something at some point. So excuse me.
Yeah, I have concerns that potentially there is nothing. It could be like we got Zelda out, and to be fair, that's enough video game for the rest of the year, to be honest.
For some people, absolutely,
And then it's kind of like heads down until they're ready to talk about new hardware, which is either coming out this fall or not coming out this fall.
I'm sorry. I'm in the mind of like it. I think it is more imminent than we realize, but I still think that imminent is like early next year or like a next year thing for me.
March worked out so well for them with the Switch. And it's going to be away from anything like a PS5 Pro if those things do exist, right? They'd come out in September or something. So, I could totally see them like staying quiet until like maybe September, talking about some smaller games. And then in January, like blowing up the spot and being like, all right, here's the next thing.
Because totally, I'm being reminded of like back when they announced the Switch, it was just like a random trailer in October being like, here it is, here's our next thing.
Same day as the Red Dead Redemption 2 reveal. I'll never forget.
That's right. And they just randomly dropped that trailer, and then in January we had like the bigger blowout of like showing like Breath of the Wild and showing Mario Odyssey and like some other stuff. ARMS, baby. Let's go.
A lot of great stuff in there.
Amazing first year for the Switch still, of course. So like,
I think they want that again. You know,
for sure.
Like imagine you announce it. It's like, all right, we've got a new Mario game. After the Mario movie, right, where like the buzz is as good as it's going to be.
As high as it is,
we got Zelda's coming over. All your old games are coming over. And
Metroid Prime 4 probably fits, I think, a pretty strong bill for like sort of taking the Zelda spot of like this game that has been kind of sort of dormant, quote unquote, and then kind of have like a more blowout of showing that finally and promising it as like this next big game. Because obviously Breath of the Wild originally started as like a big Wii U game and then kind of evolved onto a Switch game, and then it became what it was. So I think like Metroid is obviously not as big as Zelda, but I think it could still fit that. I think it is that one thing, right, that is like looming of like, but this has been a thing we've known about since like basically the start of the Switch, and we've not seen this lick of it. We know it's like restarted development, so it's been in a weird place, but I feel like promising it now for a new thing would make sense.
Yeah, and that game is coming along, like I'm sure. Especially seeing Metroid Prime remastered, it's like, okay, Like they wouldn't have like knocked this as hard out of the park if they didn't know that they were cooking up something good. I think
they're cooked. They're cooking.
Yeah, they're cooking. Let them cook. And yeah, like new Mario, port Zelda, port Smash, and all you have to do is announce a new Mario Kart.
Yeah,
and the system will be fine.
And there's definitely like I was thought about bringing this up because we have to wait and see for sure how this goes. But like Tor is kind of giving me the indication that like that is kind of possible, just because we know there's 2 more packs of DLC for 8 left still, but like that stuff was data mined a while ago. I've definitely mentioned it a handful of times on the podcast already, and like some of the tracks are like very much set in stone because they've kind of matched the last 4 waves pretty much to a T, minus like 1 or 2 tracks like that were in the data that were like confirmed to be in it, but just like swapped like waves essentially. And that was like some of the tracks like were confirmed but just like swapped around. But we're starting to get tracks in Tor that are like would not fit in that at all. Like there's like multiple tracks that have like now come, even just like in the most recent like Tor, like we got 2 like retro tracks from older Mario Kart games in this that like wouldn't probably be in, that like aren't really slated in any spots that would make sense for the remaining 2 waves. And like so we're starting to get a bunch of retro tracks like that. Like we're not getting like new original tracks because there's still enough slots for the DLC to get like new Tor original tracks that might end up in later waves. But now we're getting retro tracks that just like wouldn't show up now at this point in the DLC because there's only so many spots left. So now it's like, okay, they're clearly continuing to make tracks for Tor, and like, are they just kind of doing that because they can do it? And they, we're still, maybe they're, for whatever reason, we're going to get more Mario Kart 8 DLC. I don't think we would, but maybe we will. I don't know where they're going to go with that. But like, it's just like an interesting thing that they're just kind of like continuing to make this much like new stuff for Tor, when it's like you're ending the 8 DLC, and like I don't think Tor is going to go on forever either. So I don't know. It's just interesting like thing to bring up, like what the future of Mario Kart is as we kind of get towards the end of this DLC and they're doing stuff in Tor. I don't know. I don't know where that's going to go.
Yeah, I feel like it will go toward Mario Kart 9 at some point, right? Like I don't know if that's like a first year of the Switch 2. Should be. I think Nintendo thinks it should be. It's like the best selling game they've ever made, I think.
Yeah.
So
I would be right there with you. And like that, like the other thing they could set up is like, we know last time we got Sword and Shield had like a year previous of DLC. We're getting that again with Scarlet and Violet. Like, I think this does lead them the potential for like a new Pokemon game the same year as like a launch of that new console, whatever it may be. Because I don't think we've really had, I don't think we had a launch Pokemon game for Switch the launch year. Because I think Let's Go was the year after. So it leaves it open just because of that time. Like if they continue that Pokemon timeline, like I don't think it would be maybe a full new generation of Pokemon, but it might be like a proper like maybe like Let's Go style or some other maybe another Legends game even would be really cool. That leaves that open to maybe be on that new console, or maybe it's like I guess we still don't obviously know what the hardware is, but maybe it could be like a cross-gen thing where maybe there's like a version that still comes to Switch, and the newer the game could also run on whatever this new hardware ends up being as well. So it's hard to say for sure what that stuff was, because we obviously don't really know fully what the new hardware would be at this point, and if there is going to be one, like it seems like there we're hoping there should be at this point, because we're definitely getting in that late era. It would make sense, but who knows? Maybe we just have another year of Switch games out of us. I guess we don't really know, but
if they're as good as Zelda, then I don't care, right?
Sure.
But,
yeah, I'm with you.
And I think that's fine. But I'm just curious, right? They are in that kind of silent mode that is usually indicative that they're prepping for a launch.
And just like the games we are getting is like, again, Zelda, obviously we're getting into Zelda, and like that's like you said, they could just keep making games like Zelda on this console like this, and I'd be fine. But but then you have the other thing of like, here's everybody's 1-2 Switch and Pinkman 4, and we've gotten earlier this year, we got like a Fire Emblem game that was kind of more like a fan servicey Fire Emblem, not really like a fully super original Fire Emblem, like something like we've got like the Three Houses or other things where it felt like a more proper new mainline entry, rather than like, I feel like Engage was more of like a celebration kind of Fire Emblem more so. And then we also got Splatoon 3, where Splatoon 3 was just like, it's another sequel. Like, we're getting a lot of sequel games. It feels like we're getting a lot of those tail end.
Still got 2 Splatoon DLCs, also like 2 expansions.
Yeah,
I forgot about those.
Yeah, there's another or I think it's just the one big one. I think they already did the first.
Oh
part.
Yeah, that's right. The first part was like adding the other social spaces.
Yeah, it was just like they added like a social space from one of the older games. Yeah. So like, it definitely has the vibe of the tail end. So I'm assuming we're going to be moving. We're going to be slowly, hopefully, learning about what's next for their what's next hardware wise, by the end of this year at least. But still have to wait and see where that all goes.
It's the 40S. We're going back.
40S. Wow. It's a cube. You're playing on a cube. 40S.
You stick your hands in the cube and then you're in the game.
You're in. Put some goggles on. That'd be sick. That'd be sick. God. if they just tried to do like some weird VR thing. Oh
man.
That would be too much.
I think Nintendo's learned their lesson on dumb hardware gimmicks.
I think so too. I think they're just I think it is just going to be like essentially a Switch 2, where it'll be like a more powerful Switch. Maybe it's a little bit more closer to being a more home console thing, but still has some kind of portability option. And I think it'll, I think they will have a lot of carryover from that hardware onto the Switch, at least with like a lot of Switch stuff will carry over to that. I don't think there will be too much of like the going back where you'll be able to
the full reset. Yeah, I think your games will come over. The virtual console things will come over.
Yeah, considering it's a subscription, they can just keep up the subscription. And maybe that's where they can introduce other like things to that subscription in a more substantial way, is on that new hardware. Is like, bring your subscription over and upgrade it on this new on this new console, and you maybe get like this whatever maybe they do. That's when they finally do like GameCube games, or like maybe they do like a bigger influx of classic games on that thing or something. I don't know. But yeah, ultimately, like, I don't know what they're going to do for the summer. It's hard to, it's like, this is the one time where it feels like there's a lot less to go off of with what the rest of their year looks like. So it's like, all right, like, I feel like sometimes in previous years, right, it feels like, all right, we know this, and this. So like they got to talk about that stuff, where this is like, all right, we got Pinkman 4. It's like, that's like what we got. And it's like, they don't need to do a whole full direct for that necessarily. But
thinking about it, it is like there is a lot of, the Mario Kart DLC, the Splatoon DLC, and the Pokemon DLC, I think will be probably the 3 big things in the fall.
Yeah.
And then from there, like maybe one game or like some remaster, or like the other Metroid Prime games have also been speculated.
I think we'll get like one new game and like a remaster. Like those are like the 2 big things I think we're gonna see. What they'll end up being, I don't know. Like you said, like I know like there was rumors of like the follow-up Metroid Prime remaster stuff was more likely to be like a proper remaster, rather than like what we got with the first Metroid Prime, where it'd be more of just like a up-resing of stuff rather than a full-on remake. But who knows? Maybe that was like seen so positively that maybe they change their minds, and maybe they're gonna go do the proper work to do those. Who knows? Maybe we can finally see the Wind Waker, Twilight Princess kind of stuff. I don't know if they would double up on Zelda in a single year like that, but who knows? It's hard to say. Like it's hard to say. I think there will be one thing, because I don't know if they would fully rely on the just DLC for the existing games they have for a holiday thing. But I could see that, I don't think there's going to be a lot, and it's going to be stuff that's like bombshells. Like I don't, like you said, like I don't think we're gonna see a new Mario game for the holiday or a new like big 3D Mario game necessarily. I could see maybe like a 2D thing happening, maybe like a 2D Mario, but like smaller kind of scale thing potentially. But I don't see like a new, like I don't see like Mario Odyssey 2 or like whatever that Mario, like whatever like the follow up to that main game being a Switch game. I see that being like a next year with the new hardware if that's the route they go. So it's hard to hard to say for sure. I don't expect anything in June in terms of a direct at this point. I'm just kind of accepting that it'll probably be later in the summer, and I could see them doing like, we got a random tweet at 9:00 about everybody went to Switch. So like we could totally just get that again where it's like, here's a couple random tweets on these days about what's this new thing that's just going to drop here. Here you go. And that's like, they've done that in the past. It's worked totally fine for them. They could just do that again, and then maybe have something bigger later in the summer when they have their own time, when they have their own space, right? Because like now we know like this coming week we're gonna have the Keeley thing, the Xbox thing, a bunch of other things. Like I feel like at this point they can just kind of like wait till that's all passed and then have their own little moment to just show off whatever. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think thinking about it more, I think the Zelda remasters, it'd be so funny to put them out.
Yeah, at the very end of it.
After Tears of the Kingdom, all of this like speculating of like, oh yeah, to lead up to no. That would feel like, in some ways that would feel like a Nintendo-asked Nintendo thing to do. Exactly. It's the most Nintendo thing you could do. So
yeah, I would be fine with that. It'd be pretty funny to me. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And then we're obviously we're at the end of the day we don't really know for sure. For all we know, again, like I said, I could put this podcast out here on a Monday or Tuesday morning, and then they literally like an hour later be like, here's the summer June 8th Nintendo Direct 9 a.m. and it's like, well, okay. Fuck us, I guess. That's total stuff like that has totally happened with our podcast before, where we put it out and then like a day later they announce some big thing. But yeah, if that does happen, we will probably be quicker about we took a little bit longer to get to this episode because we spent a lot of time playing Zelda and we wanted to talk about as much Zelda as we could. So if they end up just giving us the early mid-June direct, we'll definitely watch it, maybe do a react depending on what time it is. If not, we'll just come back with a podcast talking about it post. So we'll always see. Always look forward to Always look forward to directs. But we don't know what's going to happen. It doesn't seem like soon, but we don't know.
Yeah, we don't get all the scoops, so we'll have to wait and see.
We don't know when in June a direct is, but that doesn't matter for now, because we have some games to talk about. One game in particular. It's what everybody's been waiting for. I'm
Pokemon
sure
Black. Everybody's so
Black.
I'm finished Pokemon.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna talk about Overwatch 2 for like another 45 minutes. All right, everyone.
None of that matters. No, that's fine.
Legend of Zelda. Okay, go.
Disclosure before we start, and I'm sure everyone said this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like every 5 minutes of this game feels like a spoiler.
Yes. Yeah. At
this point, you should be playing it. It's good. I'm happy to report they did it.
Surprise! If you somehow lived under a rock for like I don't know, like the last like 3 weeks, and have not seen this being like one of the highest scoring video games ever. Kind of, and it's been I put 190 hours into it. I feel like you probably have just as many, if not more, than me. We've both completed the main story and a lot of the side stuff. We're going to talk about pretty much all of it here. So we're all in talking about tears. We'll
ease our way. We're not going to start with the end.
Yeah, here's the ending. Here's like see that tears. Whoa, no, we're not getting that hard yet. But yes, if you don't want to be spoiled about this stuff at this point, if you're still listening to this, you already know what you're in for. All right,
Yeah.
You're about to hear some spoilers. But The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Holy shit! This is one of the this is the best video game of all time. Like, how the fuck did they do this? Like, what the hell? Like, this game's amazing. Like,
constantly blown away.
Yes.
Like, it's so
from
fun,
start to finish. Yeah, I still am. Like, I literally was playing this right before the podcast, and like went into a cave and like I went into a cave in the desert, and there's just like a big skeleton inside, and you're just like, this was here the whole time. I've been playing 190 hours, and I found this, and then I found even more where I'm like blowing up this part of a wall, and a tinier skeleton fell out of it. I'm just like, what is this? And I'm just like, what does all this mean? And I'm just like, I'm still finding that stuff at 190 hours of playing this game. Like, it's just like it's mind blowing how much there is, how different all of it is. Like, there's so much different things at different scales of the game. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's like 5 different amazing things around every corner at every single second of the game. It's funny too, because like going into this, right, we didn't know about the depths.
Yes.
Not strictly, right? Some reviewers had talked about it, and I had not listened to any of that. So
yeah, I didn't really know. I didn't know the scale of it. Let's say, like,
sure,
if you would have told me this game was just like what I like the minimal expectations I was going in with was like the idea that was like, all right, it's going to be this like largely the same Hyrule, but there's going to be like cool cave systems and obviously the Sky Islands, and that was like that enough was like, wow, that's like a lot more game potentially and crazy thing. And then like the fact that you go down into the depths and quickly learn that there's literally an entire second size of literally a second Hyrule underneath this game, like. Yeah, like it was overwhelming and exciting all at the same time. Just like it was insane, and like that's just like saying that alone, like is just like not even like I feel like a spoiler because of how much stuff is down there.
Yeah,
like,
there's so much that you don't even know about yet, and it's like what a treat. It's just especially like what I love probably the most about this game. And there are many things that would fill that category is like I can go from exploring Hyrule that has like similar vibes to Breath of the Wild, right? But it's more epic. There's more enemies. There's more danger. Just caves. There's
more all kinds of stuff. Just more everything.
More secrets. And then I can go up to the sky, and it's more of this like honestly, in a weird way, it feels like more like old school Zelda of like intricate puzzles that are like all interconnected, and like navigating a series like a group of Sky Islands feels like you're doing like a big long puzzle.
Right.
And then you go down in the depths, and it's like a totally different kind of exploration where it's pitch black, so you are lighting your way with like plants and torches and different things, and it feels dangerous, and the enemies there are reducing your maximum hearts. There's this whole mechanic built around that. And those 3 play styles, just like if I'm like, oh man, I just did 5 caves back to back, it's like, let's just go underground and just see what the fuck's going on. And it's like, all right, well, I'm nearly dead, so I'm just gonna go teleport up to the sky and like let's just fly around and do whatever. There's so much freedom in this game that is just beyond belief how they pulled this off.
Absolutely. It's just insane, like the versatility of just like having those options to explore in new ways. And like there were a lot of times where I was just frankly overwhelmed by it, but like, you know, it's always taking that moment of just like, you know, the game doesn't really force you into anything, obviously, because it's very much like Breath of the Wild where you just explore, find stuff naturally, and just to do that, and like, you know, you kind of have to embrace that a lot with this game where, you know, if you want that direction, like there is some of that still here, like in the way that Breath of the Wild had, where like you can just kind of mainline the main quests and stuff and still have a pretty good experience, but like there's just so much beyond that is like absolutely insane. And like the crazy thing is, like, you know, we've been talking about that like exploration stuff of like, we haven't even mentioned like, you know, you're just like, you can just build stuff at any time, and all of that has like intricate like extra little mini things you can learn. Like, you know, I felt like such a fucking genius when I like was underground and realized like, oh, I can just take like, you know, do the Breath of the Wild thing you learn in Breath of the Wild, where it's like, you know, you can take a piece of flint and a piece of wood and combine it and make a fire. You can then use that on like one of like the air like, you know, air balloon things that you can find underground, and then you don't even use any batteries, so you can just have like an immediate like just huge lift up into the sky underground or anywhere, and just use that as a tool. And there's just like so many things that you constantly find like that like throughout the game, and like that was like some of my favorite stuff of just like, you know, feeling like having those moments where you like kind of are starting out, and, you know, like you said, it is like a very familiar, you have that familiarity with Hyrule if you played Breath of the Wild, where like I played, you know, the first game for 200 some hours, so I was immediately like pretty familiar with like some very basic stuff. But like coming in with that mindset, like, you know, you already have like an immediate approach to things because of that game and how I approach that game. And I remember like vividly like that moment where like you kind of start doing early quests, and it's like, all right, you need to go up to Hyrule Castle to see what's going on, because we heard like, you know, Zelda's over there for some reason. Like, what's up with that? It's like a very immediate like initial quest you do. And I remember like walking up there, and you get to that big steel door that's just like hanging out there and it's not opened. And, you know, I remember doing that the first time and having that erection like I'm playing Breath of the Wild, and being like, okay, I need to like awkwardly like climb around this or get around this, and then, you know, play you know, the rest of the game for like 20 hours, and then realizing as I come back to that, just like, you know, this happenstance ring upon him, just be like, oh yeah, ultra hand, grab the door, just yank it open and just go. And like, you know, it was like rejiggering my entire brain because of like how much of this game delineates and like makes you feel like you're still like learning things all over again, even though the game is still like so Breath of the Wild at the same time. And like that was just like things that like constantly blew my mind of just like how truly much those like 4 core abilities you get with like ascending and doing reversing time with recall, and even just being able to simply grab things with ultra hand like dramatically changes a lot of ways you approach that world. And like I've said it many times in this podcast, like Breath of the Wild is still was, you know, for a time, still one of my favorite games of all time. And like, it is just like so staggeringly impressive that they made that game feel like a glorified tech demo with this game. Like, it's right. It feels insane to say that now. Like, I never thought I would have said that before this game. But it's true. Like, it's actively true. Like, I feel, as much as I loved and adored that game, I feel no desire to like go back and play it now, just because of like how Tears of the Kingdom enhances the world of Breath of the Wild already, with all of the new tools, and just like how much more there is to do, and how much you feel more a part of the world, because there's like people walking around, there's NPCs like that are, and it's just not just like, it's just general Hylians just walking around, researchers that are like, you know, trying to figure out what's going on with Zelda. There's just like Gorons and like way more like, you know, people and things actively going on in the world than there ever was originally in Breath of the Wild. And that's like, it's just like so impressive that I'm still, you know, I think like there was still things being found in Breath of the Wild this early on with this many hours in, but they were like very different things compared to this, where it is like entirely new quest lines or entirely new areas of the game that just like I never even knew existed. And I'm like 190 hours, I'm still finding stuff like that. It's just like, it's just absolutely insane.
Like everything about it is insane, like down to the fact that this game like works at all. Like I cannot fathom it's one of the most immediately apparent of like, oh yeah, this took 6 years like video games to me, of like
just like seeing ascend
stuff together,
ascend and recalling just through different areas of the map alone is like just like an insane thing of just like you can ascend out of a cave and somehow like it knows where you are and pops you out at the very specific point in the map, and like, you know, even
and they'll
like,
make you do that in like really interesting ways.
Yeah, and like ways, and like, you know, you figuring out ways you didn't think you do that, where it's like, here's this like very specific stalactite sticking out of this cave. Can I angle it just right? Oh, yep, I can. And I just go through this like the tiniest little stalactite and poking out of the butt, like the, you know, the ceiling of a wall, out of a ceiling, and I'm just able to go through it like it was nothing. And it's like, that's just insanely impressive in of itself. Like, holy crap.
Yeah, like in Hateno, which has like a bunch of really awesome quests that I really liked. There's one where it's like, you know, there's like this cave system under Hateno connected by all the wells.
Yeah,
and you have to ascend into like the mayor's like secret shack. Yeah, and I remember like just poking up and coming down like for like 3 minutes, just like, all right, am I here yet?
Yeah, am I in it?
Just like, yeah, just finding that route into there, and it like me at some point like thinking like, is this how I'm supposed to do this? And then just coming up and be like, oh yeah, it was. I got it.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff like that. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, there's a cheese quest. Have you done the cheese quest?
I mean, like, as in like making cheese?
Yes, making cheese.
Yeah, making cheese. Yeah, I did that for like the dairy
Love
lady. That was very fun.
Yeah. I made pizza after that, which
yes,
I loved.
Yeah, I know this one's a little bit more spoilery, but I did finally do. There's a, you know, you learn that Laurelland village, like the kind of the beach island village, is attacked by pirates, which was like a fun surprise. And you go there, and you know it's being attacked, and you can save the village essentially by defeating all the enemies in it. I did that and did the whole, like, there's like essentially like, it's not as elaborate as Breath of the Wild's like Terrytown rebuilding the village quest, but it is like a whole like,
I'd say it's more elaborate just because that quest was like, go get 400 pieces of wood and then find people to bring here. And this, you're like putting trees in homes and stuff. And
yeah. Well, that's what I meant. Like the Terrytown thing from Breath of the Wild was, I think, a little bit more elaborate with like having to go find people out in the world. Where I didn't really have to do that in this. Where it was just like,
there's none of that. It's just like, but you build in the houses and like putting the tree stumps in there and taking out all the trash out of the inn and stuff. I love that.
Yeah, it was very fun and cool, and just like rebuilding the town and then having the vibes of Laurelland back is really cool. And then like, you know, that was a fun little quest. There's like tons of shrines that were really fun. Like I feel like tons of people have seen the one where it's like a very early one you can stumble upon, where it's like the baseball bat kind of pitching like machinery that you have to like angle this thing, and I've seen like a billion ways to just either cheese it or just like unintentionally solve it, where I saw one that was like amazing, where like somebody like stuck a bunch of the sticks on it and we're trying to like bat it and like hit it in a way where the ones that were like stuck to the base like pitching machine hit the ball and actually snapped like them, degooed them, and launched one of the sticks into the button, and that like solved it. And it just like one of the sticks just flew into it. It was solved it. And I loved that shit in this game, where it's just like,
yeah, me too.
They made so many like elaborate puzzles that like you could totally do the thing they like want you to do, but they also like fucking know, like I can just say like fuck this and just take like this like big metal like sheet board and just like hold it up with recall for like 45 seconds at this angle and just ascend through it and just like jump and completely skip these entire sections if I want to, because like fuck it. And like they have to love that. They have to know like that's a possibility, right? And I just love that that's like a thing, you know. And there's just so many opportunities like that, and just like, you know, there's just so much cool shit like that, and I love it.
They're actively incentivizing you to break the game.
Yeah.
And you know, it's one of those things, like the game's never crashed. It's never been like broken in a way that's like felt unpolished or anything. It's always just like, hey, you know what? If you figured it out, like, great, like, go for it and see how goofy you can get with this stuff. And like, there's definitely been shrines that I've played a couple times just to see if I could do a thing, and I did it completely differently. And it's like, oh wow, like this feels like the shrine idea, kind of like you said, you know, from Breath of the Wild was a tech demo, and here's like the real deal, like
the real
go wild. I did, you know, I've done all the shrines. Have you finished all the shrines?
I've done all the shrines now. Yeah, there's 152, which was wild to me.
Yes. And there's 120 on the surface. So have fun, kiddos.
Yeah.
there were two distinct shrines that I was like, I don't like these shrines. Out of 152, not including like the tutorial shrines, which whatever.
Yeah, there's like tutorial ones. There's like the ones that are just like, here's like a blessing because you figured out this like puzzle out in the world. It just kind of gives you like free stuff, which was like a thing in the first game too.
Yeah, so. But there is, I can tell you the two. The two are the one where you have to play Jenga, which I found out, to be fair.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it's very memorable.
Yeah.
I did it the wrong way, basically.
Yeah,
I did was like I went to all the Jenga blocks and I just started gluing them all together. So that way I could just pull the whole tower over.
Oh my god.
Which was not the right way to do it. Because you could like pull one of the blocks out and like electrify a platform that lets you go over and get the thing that you need off the top of the tower. Which I learned later. And then there's another one which I want to go and look up like what people think is the proper solution. It's like building bridges across the sand. Do you remember this one? It's in the Gerudo Desert, where it's just like this massive room with a river, like a massive river of sand.
And
you have to like get to the one end and like get above a thing, and then there's a ball in there that you have to like let loose.
You could so I do remember this one. So what I did for it is I just made like a little like sled, like sand buggy looking thing where it's just like a sled, like a fan and like the control stick, and I just like rode that across the sand after a certain point because I could see like it wanted you at first to do like recall where you're like slowly moving the things across. To like jump across them to get to certain points. So I did that for a while, but I think once, like you said, you get to like a bigger open area, I just made one of those. And then like there's a thing where it's like you can launch the ball out of it, right? Like you like launch the ball out first, and then it like kind of
you can also recall it
drifts
across
back as well. Drifts across the sand for a bit. So I think I want to say I think I made like a makeshift like wooden thing to like put, basically it was like a thing where like I stuck a bunch of the wooden things floating in the sand together to make like a makeshift kind of ramp I could put against the wall. And that let me, then I grabbed the ball with Ultra Hand and kind of like walked up it so I could just like plop it down on the kind of like the flat surface high above. And then I think I just went to a spot where I could ascend up, and then I got back on the thing and then like plopped it in. I think that's what I did.
I didn't. What I did, I found every board in the entire shrine, and I glued them all together, and I made a giant bridge, like big. I'm not like big bridge, and it wasn't long enough. And I was like, because I literally spent an hour doing this. I don't know. Again, whatever. I was just having fun. I was like, this was like
that's like
50 hours in.
That is like a ton of this game is like just being like, there's a lot of times, especially like early when I'm like you're first figuring stuff out, where there's so many times where I was like, okay, I see the thing they want me to build, but what if I do this? Just make like the stupidest fucking thing and see if it works. And a lot of times it worked, and it was like just amazing.
Yeah, so I tried to build this big bridge, didn't work. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna throw this all against the wall and try something different. And there's one of those little sleds. I put a fan on the front as well, but sticking straight up. So then I drove that over, I turned it on, and I jumped and I paraglided up from the fan over the obstacle I needed to get over to get the ball. And I just threw the ball into the sand. It took it to the front, and I just ultra handed its way up. And I was like, wow, I could have done that for the whole last hour.
Yeah.
But like those, like literally, and I didn't like hate that shrine by any means. It was just like I spent an hour and a half there for stupid reasons.
Right.
Those are the only two that I would say like I didn't have a great time with these, or I had a questionable time at best.
Yeah.
And then the other 150 shrines I like adored. I love so many of the shrines to the point where I was like, I want to go back and like give this another shot and like see if I can do it differently.
Yeah.
And what a, like, there are so many shrines. I'll say like they did the smart thing of making many more of them, like just reward shrines as far as like, hey, you got here. That's all you had to do.
Yeah. A lot of the Sky Island ones were like that, where you're like figuring out like, oh yeah, it's like in this weird like big orb that you've seen some of the trailers. There's like there's a couple of those around, and you have to like figure out how to puzzle your way into them to like get to a shrine. Or there was like one I did that like the one of the last ones I ended up doing, which like the last few I had where I ended up all being on the Sky Islands, so like it was nice that it worked out that way. So they're pretty easy to find, because it's like, oh yeah, there's just a bunch of Sky Islands I clearly have not been to, so this is probably all where they're at. So the last couple ones I did were like ended up being ones like that. The one I did was like you like drain water, then go into this like underground, and it's like a whole like a mirror, like a light beam puzzle.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. That was like one of the last ones I did. I did that one, and then the other one I did was like it was like it was like a whole anti-gravity thing where you had to like it was all anti-grav like area, and you had to like use these things to like get up to this like it was like one of those light gemstone like rocks that are like floating up, where it's like made of all the Luma stone, and there's just like a green gem on there, so you had to like figure out how to like get these platforms and shoot them up, and there's just like a bunch of rockets everywhere, so you just use the rockets on the platforms to like launch yourself up. Tons of cool stuff like that. Like there's like the big forge that's in the sky. Yeah. And you have to first like climb up your way to the top. There's like a bunch of air vents that you're using to like glide up it and stuff. And then you have to like, that's like the whole scene you see in like the more recent trailer, where it's like a bunch of lasers you have to fly through. That's like that thing. I remember doing that. That was really cool. I admittedly did wish there was still like some more like elaborate sky stuff than there was in the game. Like I did like I loved all of it, what's there. I just wish there was like at least like, you know, besides some of like the dungeon stuff, which I think we can start talking about, but like I was hoping for like maybe like one more like that was like big as like the starting area. That's like kind of the tutorial, and it's like the new plateau. I was hoping for like another slightly larger, explorable area that kind of would let you do some of that stuff. But like, you know, still,
it's like, because you're gonna get that itch scratch somewhere, if not in the sky, right? Like it was a thing of like, you know, in the Great Sky Island, there's like caves and stuff, and I really liked those caves. There's like there's 3. And there are no other caves on the Sky Islands. There are like kind of, but not like formal caves with like bubble frogs and stuff like that. And that would have been cool to see, like bigger areas where that would allow for something like that. But again, there's like enough.
Well, because the stuff that's there is really cool. Because there's also there's the skydiving challenges that are like straight up matched to like the shrines, or not shrines, but like the
outfit.
Not the armor set. There's the armor set, but they're also like above where the springs are.
Springs.
And they're like called like spring, like, you know, challenge of courage,
spring of valor.
And they like match that, which was I thought was a really cool touch. And like those are fun because you're like skydiving and like have to do the challenges in a time, and you get that cool like skydiving suit from that.
Yeah, which is so useful. So good.
Really cool. That stuff was super cool. But yeah, like one of those things where it's just like, the depths that is insane. It's like it's literally a whole second video game, literally no, it's like not even an exaggeration that it is like is an entire, that is the size of Hyrule, like the main Hyrule. And like once you explore it a little bit, like I had to, when you have that realization of like it is literally like inverted Hyrule, where, you know, a big huge mountain like Death Mountain, or I guess not really like Death Mountain as much as so much, but like, you know, there's the big snow mountain that's there,
or like Satori Mountain.
Satori Mountain, like it is a big huge chasm in the depths, and then like they match that, like all the lakes and rivers and things in the overworld make like big, like, you know, walls that you kind of have to like either navigate around, or can like straight up block off entire little smaller areas that you then have to go find like a bigger chasm in the mainland to like dive into and go find. And like some of that stuff is just really cool little secrets, and like some of them it's like super well hidden, where it's like, oh, there's just conveniently this random like hole in a cave on the side of this cliffside that I had to find, and then that leads you into like a big chasm that's hidden in here. Lets you dive down.
Or there's like a hidden cave under Rito Village that leads to a giant chasm, right?
Exactly. Like, or just turns out that you can jump into like a well that's just like hanging out, and it's like those ones are more apparent because you can see like the weird like spooky malice gloom coming out of it. But it's still, it's always like sometimes you just see it, and it's like, oh, it's just this tiny little well, yeah, defined, and that's what takes you down there. That's it's pretty crazy, and just a lot of scary shit down there too. It's fucked up because, like you said, it's like
scary.
It's like you just because when you first start exploring down there, you're like you said, it's completely pitch black, so you have to get like these little seeds and throw them. You're just hucking them around, shooting them with arrows and yeeting them around, and like it's always terrifying when you like throw one and all of a sudden it just goes. And just
goes.
And it just disappears, and you just see it go down to a thing. You're just like, oh, that's a big. I don't know if I want to go down there yet. Or you start lighting up things enough, and all of a sudden you see some horrific things like circling in the sky, and you're just like, what the fuck is that? Oh, that's just one of the fucking dungeon bosses hanging out in the depths. What the fuck? Like. It's just like
I guess I'm gonna have a big epic boss battle down here right now.
And this is crazy. And then like an even more thing that's also fucked up that I found are just like fucking Lionels from the first game are obviously back. They can just like be fully kitted out in armor down there, and there's just like one walking around, he's just full set of armor.
And they're way harder to see in the dark if they have the armor on, so they'll just creep up on you. I'll tell you what.
And all of a sudden you see you just seen some shadow. You see it's all shadowy and dark, and all of a sudden you just see like a question mark like in the darkness. And you're just like, what's that? Oh, fuck me. It's big fucking armored Lionel.
Silver Lionel with an arrow just starts shooting arrows in the sky at you.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, it's fucked. And like we said, like there's a whole mechanic where like the gloom that is like spread around. It's like some of it's in like the normal Hyrule, but a lot of it is underground. And if you're touching it, like it basically like breaks your hearts. And if you're underground, like that stays permanent for as long as you're underground. Or if you like eat food that fixes it or heals it. And there's also like an armor set you get from Pose, which Pose are back. That was like a super cool discovery. Super cool. Just to like that was like, I remember like we talked about it briefly. I think it was like going to one of the first things I did very early was go to the Great Plateau for the first time. I wanted to see what changed there, and there's just like a bunch of crazy stuff there, and that's why I learned that like there's just like it's freaking eyeballs to a giant Poe statue are just hanging out there, and then you have to like drop them into the caverns and take him to it, which that was a really cool like side quest that I just like stumbled into early on.
It's just like that great, like the Great Hyrule mine is under there, so it's like just these intricate little mine cart courses all connected around down there. Like, it's all super cool.
There's just like big like mine caverns and like mines you can find that like have like these intricate things like that, or like they just like all kinds of like the classic like amiibo Zelda outfits are just like all down there in chests hidden all over the place, and you can find bosses in the Sky Islands, and if you take them out they'll give you like a treasure map to show you like where those are in the underground, which is really cool.
So cool.
Yeah, and it's just like the
first time I got a treasure map, I was like a kid in a candy shop.
Yep, it was really cool.
I was losing my mind.
Definitely one of those moments where I realized the scale of that underground was like getting one of those, and you do like an introductory quest to the depths pretty early if you like follow some of the main story stuff. So like I did that part, and then like just playing the game naturally and just running around, and like I hadn't gone back to the depths yet, and then just remember getting like doing one of the Sky Island things and getting one of those maps, and then it just like shifts and shows you where it is, and it's literally like
just in nothing.
Just in nothing on the entire other side of the map. I've even been to that side of the map in the normal Hyrule, and I'm just like, what the fuck? This fucking video game.
Are you kidding me right now? I'm curious, like I want to know like what was like some of the first things you did just in general, because you do the tutorial on Great Sky Island. They do like a little fake out where it's like, it's only 3 shots. Oh, no, it's 4. Then, you dive down to the ground. And I thought like doing that would get you the paraglider. That is not how you get the paraglider. You have to play a little bit more. So once you hit the ground, it's like, I was like, oh. I was, where am I going?
Where am I going? Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, I see the first big hole, and I'm like, the first thing I want to do is, because again, I did not know about the depths. I didn't get a confirmation from any reviews. I was pretty blind. So I was like, I got to go. What is it down this hole?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I have to get the paraglider. Once I get the paraglider, I will allow myself to do whatever. So that takes you through a couple of quests where you like you said, go to Hyrule Castle, talk to some people. And then you learn about the towers. You do the first one in the little hub town in Central Hyrule, which is great. Love the music there. Love the tower music. The Skyview Tower music is so jolly. But yeah, like literally Pura gives you the paraglider before you go into one of the towers that like launches you up and gives you the map data. I went from that jump into the first hole that I saw. Like literally didn't come back down to talk to Pura. I was like, I got the paraglider now. I'm going to that hole.
See you later.
And I went, I flew over to that hole, went straight down. I was like, I paused the game, took a minute, and I was like, I can't believe what is happening.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm curious what you did first, like after you kind of got to the ground.
I was gonna say it was generally kind of similar. Of like I did a couple extra story things just because I was pretty blind to a lot of stuff. So like I kind of did a couple extra things because like you said, I was like I want to make sure I get a couple of the starting things, and like I feel like I'm like out of the tutorial completely. So I did do the high roll step, and then I did like getting the paraglider and doing that, and I just talked to a couple people in the landing to see if like they had things to say, and like then that started like the chasm quest. So I didn't go right into the chasms right away. I think I kind of just wandered Hyrule Field for a while and kind of like, hit a lot of like random spots in there. I think I headed to like one of the I headed to one tower, and then it was like surrounded by a big encampment. So I was like, I don't think I'm ready for that yet. So I started going just like wandering around. And then, yeah, I definitely, it was pretty early. That was like one of the first things that I ended up going to the Great Plateau and seeing all the stuff there. And then like, I think like one of the big first fights I had was like, there's the shack the old man shack in the original plateau. It was taken over by the Yiga clan people. So I just like walked up there and I was like, geez, this thing's like fortified. So I like figured out how to I clambered up some weird thing and like glided over into it. And all of a sudden I get ambushed by 2 Yiga people. And I was like, oh fuck, I have like 4 hearts and I'm like, nothing on me yet. I end up fighting and beating him, and then like went in there and saw like the whole they have like maps of like Yiga stuff and talking about Yiga stuff underground and Koga, and I was like, what the fuck is the Yiga clan doing? What the fuck is this? So I found that, and then kept walking around, and that's when I was seeing like early on like fucked up shit of just like, here's a black bokoblin with like fully armored, or like a big boss bokoblin with like 4 black bokoblins with them. And it's like fully I was like, wow, these dudes are just already here, huh? This is pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And just walked around some of those spots, and like I went into the Temple of Time and like talked to the statue in there, and like that statue gives you kind of the quest to go like give the eyeballs back. And at first I was like, that's kind of weird. Why does that statue want me to do that? Oh, whatever. And then then it turns out it was like doing that stuff of like taking the
post statue stuff. Yeah.
So that was
I like stumbled my way like after I did the kind of first chasm jump and you get the camera, which is like what that opening quest for that is. I like stumbled my way into auto build. Like I got it immediately. Like I fighting Koga. I was like in a boss fight with Koga almost immediately. I was like, I don't know how I got here, but whatever. Yeah. And then they explained auto build, and I was like, oh, I was kind of curious what this was, because again, I wasn't really sure what it was, and I just had that from the get go. I did not use it as much early on as I probably should have.
Yeah, saving like builds and contraptions and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was just having fun gluing stuff together.
Yeah, exactly. I still like probably should use that more than I actually should. And by now it's like nice because like as I've explored way more of the game, like you find like schematics and stuff for auto build, so there's tons of stuff I just like already have in there from that, which is really cool. Another early thing I did was I went to Kakariko pretty early and tried my damnedest to like get past the dude, and not realizing it was like a thing where I had to like get to the more of like the story beats to like get into that extra thing to show you the floating ring island. So I tried messing with that, and then clearly did not work out. So I just kind of did that, and did like the grabbed a bunch of the quests from Kakariko, and went to like the stables, and went to the where the Fort Hateno was, and then realized there's like a monster forces where there's just like a whole squad of enemies, and like a health bar pops up. And I was like, what the fuck? And then a bunch of Hylians just like showed up, and I was just like, what the fuck is happening? And it just like popped off, and I didn't realize it was like part of like an extra quest that you could have picked up from like Lookout and stuff, which is really cool.
I love that they let you stumble into that stuff, and people will like show up to support you. That's so fun.
Yeah, it was really rad. So that was a lot of the early stuff, and like obviously just like stumbling into like every shrine I could find, and then going into a cave here and there.
I was cave obsessed.
Yeah, I was gonna say I pretty much would always go into a cave now, and even now I'm still like I want to go into every single cave, and at that's point that's what I'm doing with like doing like the post game now that I finished it, like cleanup of like finding every cave. I'm doing that first, and then once I'm done that, I'm gonna go find every well, and then once I do that, I want to find our boy Addison, the hero of the true hero of Hyrule,
the true hero of
Hyrule.
It's so funny. Like early in the game, I like really was not into the Addison like sign puzzles. I don't know why. Keep in mind that there was a lot in my head.
Yeah, just a ton of stuff in the other game going on.
Yeah, it's just like I want to go like help the Rito, and like I want to go do like I just like the physics stuff. Like I was just not in the mood for. And then like just 80 hours go by, and you're like, let's do this. And then I started having like a lot lot of fun with them. And I just because
they're so ridiculous because they're like he's literally everywhere, and they just like they really do some like weird ones where it's like here's literally like one that and once you like you get deeper in, you get like so many tools and like all the different like building parts and stuff. Where there's one in particular that I remember finding where it's like he's like straight up like on like a cliff.
Yes, this is the one I was going to bring up.
And it's literally like hanging over a cliff, and there's like no other building tools around. And at that point, I was like, how do you even do this one without the floating blocks that you eventually get? Where it's like there's these like Zonai devices that like literally one is just like you hit the block. If you put it up in the air, or if you hit it, it like activates, and then you can just kind of like float it around, and it just stays stationary. So I end up just doing a super simple, just like plunk, and just putting it, and then just doing it. It was easy.
That's what I did too.
But like that was one of those ones where there's like a few of those that are just like, how do you even do this? Like without like there's no tools around, so like they maybe just expect you at this point to like if you
there's always something nearby that will get it done, and that's what I've learned. Like for that one, because that's like somewhere in like the Farron region. Yeah, around the corner there's a rock with 2 of the hover platforms. With the Zonai hover platform, so I just like glued those together, made an angle, and, laid it right next up to Addison, and he was like, "Mr. President,
oh no,
he's standing,
that guy's amazing,
so funny
every time." And just like even the thing I love too is like even like as long as you get standing, like sometimes you can be like angled. I definitely had ones that were like kind of like a little like lopsided, but it's still totally worked, and he just like put it up and was like, "Oh, thanks." Yeah, God, amazing. I want to know his story. I want to see it all the way to the end.
What's the payoff?
What's the payoff for that? I need to see it. So I've not looked at what it is at all. I just want to see it for myself, and I'm working towards that.
And a thing I'd say just like about the game as a whole that I really like is it feels like the rewards that you get for doing things are more thoughtful and better in general than something like Breath of the Wild, right? Like in a cave, right? Some caves are just caves, and like they're very short and small, and there's a bubble frog, you get them, you get out, you're good. In any cave where you see there's like little spikes, right? That means like one of Miska's treasures, who's like this treasure hunter. He had a bunch of secret armor, and that's basically where you get most of like the armor sets is like caves with
the super rare ones for sure.
Like the climbing gear or the electric proof gear, stuff like that. And anytime you see that, it's like, okay, got to keep my magnifying on, like look around for secret holes in the cave and things to go, because there's an armor set here. Or like I just did like a particularly tough shrine or combat trial shrine, which are totally different in this game. They're brilliant. And I get a diamond out of it. It's like, oh, great. Like that is something very useful, and it gives me a lot of money, or is like powerful. Just like the natural of like the natural progression of fusing and being able to fuse things like makes everything way more valuable in this game, like period. Where it's like fighting stuff matters because I can get like fighting like higher level enemies like actually matters and is worthwhile because I get the gear to like adequately combat them because I can fuse all of their parts and bits to like the weapons I already have or whatever things that are lying around. Where like naturally even in previous Breath of the Wild previously, it's like that did not feel as good because you would
you have to like use like four spear sticks that barely did anything when trying to take out a silver guy, and you're just like sitting there mashing or finding a way to like push him into like a body of water nearby or something. You know, it's like
now like weapons have like passive skills, like certain weapons.
That's really fun too. Finding those things.
Yeah, all the royal armor weapons, like the Hyrule Royal family weapons, they like have improved Flurry Rush, so you'll get more hits in during Flurry Rush.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh wow, like if I make this really powerful, like this is going to be great against like Lionel's or something that I know I have to dodge.
Yep.
To defeat.
I like all the Gerudo weapons. Like when you fuse something to the Gerudo weapons, they double the damage they do, which is like insane. You can get some crazy weapons with that.
The Zora weapons are like double damage in if it's raining, if you're near water, or if you're in like a wet cave. Yeah. So there are definitely like some like just like rainy caves in there. Where like at one point I had like a two-handed Zora sword with like a silver horn on it that was like 110 damage per hit. And I was like, yes, this feels so cool.
Super fun. Yeah, it's really cool. Just there's still so much more to talk about. Like I loved the. Like just thinking back on like some of like the random like they have like tiers of like quest styles, right? Like there's like side adventures, side quests. There's quest for shrines like in the previous game where like I liked a lot of those more where like you're like finding a lot of them were more so ended up being like here's this green crystal and you need to get it back to like this little shrine kind of like summoning spot.
Yeah, where the shrine is, but without the rock, basically.
Yeah. And so you have to like take this green crystal. And there's like tons of fun ones with those. Like a lot of it is like predominantly in the Sky Islands, which was like fun to figure out. And some of them are on the ground too, like just like finding ones that are like in caves and stuff. Like that was like the genius thing that I love too. Is like what we didn't mention about the depths is like when you find in the depths to like light them up, there's these roots that you can find, and the roots are attached to all of the shrines on the land above. So if you find a root in the ground and you put your map up to like the base Hyrule, you don't have a shrine there. That's where a shrine is. So there's like tons of shrines.
That's how I found all the shrines.
Yeah, same, exactly. Like that's how I ended up finding some, because there are some super well underground in a cave ass shrines that you can't find, and like, but you can find them the light roots in the caves and in the depths and stuff, and that makes them finding the ones in the ground much easier, which is really cool.
Yeah, such a great idea.
Yeah. It streamlines finding all that stuff in a way that I like greatly appreciate it as like somebody who like I want to go see everything, I want to collect everything, I want to see all the bits and stuff.
That's what, like I was like, all right, I'll finish my depths map and then I'll find the rest of the shrines, and it worked perfectly.
Exactly what I did as well, and it worked. I loved one of the quests too, the side adventures. I'm just trying to remember some of them now. There's the one that you start in Kakariko where you're taking pictures of like the stone tablets on the Sky Islands to like then give to the guy, and he like translates them to you and gives you some of like the story bits and stuff. Those were always super, like those were cool to find and like try and figure out how to get to. But then you'd have the ones where you would like get on them and then you'd step on it and then they just drop, and then like absolutely like terrifying of just like falling down with it. And there's one that straight just goes into the underground like through like a chasm hole, which is super cool. That was like a fun like early thing I started on and figured out.
The side adventure that like absolutely top tier. I mean, there's so many that are top tier, but like there's one where you're investigating the disappearance of Princess Zelda.
Yeah, and you're doing all the things with your bird friend. Yeah, God, that's really good.
And it's so great because it's like Tracy, who is like the rumor monger who would like tell you all the great rumors in Breath of the Wild. She now has started like a newspaper, which has like totally changed the vibe in a big way across Hyrule. Of like people feel way more connected. Yeah, and like any stable, there's always somebody reading like a newspaper. Tracy's Gazette, I think is what it's called. And yeah, so you go her. She's like, hey, there's rumors all over all stables because they're like gathering places for people. Yeah, like go investigate these rumors about Princess Zelda. There's like 14 of these, and they're all like totally different.
Yeah, totally little quests that you can find.
Some are so fun and silly, and just like some are like scary, you know.
Yeah, like the one of the dueling peaks was amazing because you climbed to the top of the dueling peaks, and then you just see Zelda in a fucking cage, and you're just like, what the fuck? And you just pull her out, and you're like, oh, save me. And so, no, I'm just kidding. I'm a Yiga Clan guy, and just you have a fight with the Yiga Clan. It's just a fun, dumb little surprise. And yeah, I forget his name, admittedly, but he's really good. The bird kind of partner that you have. Did you find him after you've done the quest? You know, he's out in the world. I stumbled upon him after doing that. That was really fun because you go back to like where one of the shrines.
Tracy, like, hey, like where's he gone? And she'll say he's hanging out where this like bard bird used to hang out. And I was like, yeah,
cool.
I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, I did not realize. Yeah, that's
kind of links those quests together.
Those quests together. Yeah, that was definitely. I definitely was looking out for and listening out for that for a good while.
For Cass, yeah,
but he unfortunately does not seem to be anywhere here. But that's okay.
It's one of those things. Like I like a lot of the like D&D-isms of this game and Breath of the Wild. Like Rito don't have long lives, right? That's why they don't remember you in Breath of the Wild versus the Zora, which are kind of like elves. You know, they live for a very long time. So it's like. Definitely implied that like baby Cass was finishing that song in Breath of the Wild because he was going to die soon. Right. And it like, again, just there's like this undertone of somberness to that whole quest, and it just makes it better. So yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Like that was my interpretation of what happened to him.
You put it in a really good light. I appreciate that more now as well. Thinking about it that way. Another one I liked since you brought up stables. I loved the music, getting the band quest together. That's That's amazing. And then once you have them all, the stable trotters, and that's how you unlock like the great fairies, in this game to upgrade your armor and stuff. That's super fun. Once you have them all together, they play perfectly in sync with like the typical like stable music. God, it's so good. It's so amazing.
There's so much good music in this game.
Yeah.
And I know that was like a big criticism of Breath of the Wild. Like they didn't undertone a lot of the best moments. Like that is not a problem here because howdy. This whole soundtrack is incredible.
Yeah, amazing across the board. From the quieter music from like moments like that to like just like some of the cutscenes.
The quieter music in the depths, which is like super atmospheric and spooky, but it's like that same Breath of the Wild kind of approach of minimalism.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then just some of the epic stuff in the story cutscenes and some of like the music in the dungeons and stuff. Amazing stuff. Before any other sites, I'm trying to think of sites before we get to that. Now we can actually talk. Still so much to talk about because we haven't.
I mean, like we
talked about
not
main
even
story quest stuff.
Not even scratched the surface here. I like I said, the cheese quest in Hateno to discover cheese again, make pizza. I love that.
Pizza.
There's the
whole mayor battle quest. Is what you're talking about? That's amazing.
Yeah. So good, and like CC, this fashionista that has moved into Hateno, is like that's so fun. I think it's such a jolly quest line that like again just brings those themes of Hateno. I love that in Hateno Link gave Zelda his house.
Yeah,
it's so sweet.
It's like kind of both their house sort of implied or something. Yeah, it's
definitely implied. I definitely may have taken that interpretation to heart.
Yeah.
But like that's just so sweet. And like Zelda started a school because she wants to educate the future generations of Hyrule. And there's like a little school with like little bratty kids that you can go teach them lessons and stuff. And there's like a crop, like the sun crop, the sun pumpkin.
Make the sun pumpkins,
which is like a totally new vegetable that you can make after you've done the Hateno quest stuff. Like that stuff was great. Yeah. One of the first things I ended up doing was Laurelin Village because that's like one of my favorite locations. I wasn't able to beat all the guys until much later, but I went there and like scoped it out. I was like, this is my mission. Like I like made it my mission in life of like, I gotta save Laurelin. This is my vacation spot. I love this place. Yeah. And the way that resolves is also like so wonderful and lovely and just great vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the side quest for the next 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Probably.
Yeah, there's still so many, and like there's still so many I actually haven't done because like I've done most of the adventures, but I have like I think when I looked last, the actual side quests there's like over like 140 of them or something, and I think I've only done like 50 to 60 of them, so like I'm barely halfway through those. There's just so many I can go do, and some of them are not like mind blowing, which like, all right, just go fight a Hinox or whatever. But there is like some cooler things, but like the adventures are definitely way more impressive than those, and they've been amazing every time.
But like you said, I like that there are the tiers to them. Like you kind of know what you're getting into. If it's an adventure, it's like, okay, this is going to be probably multi-part and more in depth. And then if it's just a side quest, it's like, all right, I could probably just go knock this out.
Yeah, just go do it real quick. So much awesome stuff like that. Or since something simple like, I just need some food, man. Please make me some food. And like, all right, let me just go fetch this crap for you lazy MF. But yeah, there's a lot of NPC stuff like that as well, for sure. I guess, but yeah, that's side stuff. Let's get into some main story stuff. So again, like we said, spoilers. We're getting into it now. So I think I want to know, like, when you first started actually doing story stuff, like what was one of the first things you encountered? Because I admittedly, like, one of the first things I stumbled into was finding one of those glyphs and getting the story that way, not realizing they were like main stories. In hindsight, it makes way more sense because like you can have like there's like a little bit of an introductory quest to points you to like how those start. But I was just like wandering around and just like found myself like walking around in one and then just like found one that way
found
without
the dragon tier part
without even like initiating the main quest.
Yeah, I was exploring. I was making my way to Lurelin early on. Like I said, I went to Highley Ridge. I knew there would be a big fire-breathing dragon there. I kind of spent about 10 minutes trying to even get close to it and dying constantly. And then, there's like a Sheikah guy, Kato, I think. He was like Impa's bodyguard. He's like at the front of the bridge. And he's like, hey, have you seen Impa? And I was like, no, where is she? And he's like, she's over here investigating the glyphs. I was like, okay, I'll make a note. So I kind of went to that first one first, and then that kind of kicks things off. And then I did the other part of the quest where you like go to the Forgotten Temple, which I loved. And you see really the cool big map of all the glyphs, and it tells you the order from left to right that they're in, which I was grateful for.
Yes, I will admittedly say I did not catch on to that because I like I said, I found one. The first one I randomly stumbled into was the scene where you see. It's in the trailer. It's where you see them, what's that? Sonya shoot the fucking like big energy blast, killing all the Modugals. I just randomly stumbled onto that one, and then that's when I realized like, okay, these are main story things. Got it. So then I went to and started the actual quest, and then ended up going to the temple. And did not catch up on the like. I realized that like later as I went back to like look at the map, but like you said, they are like in order on the thing because I did that initial one, I did that one, I did the initial one, and then the third one I found, spoilers, was the one where Sonya gets fucking killed.
So
I went from like 90 to 100, where it's just like, oh, well, where am I? It's like the cutscene where you see Zelda just like, where am I? What's happening? And she meets Rauru and Sonya, and I'm just like, oh, what's up? And like I can realize what's happening, where like she's like back in time. We
put this together from the trailers.
Yeah, put this together from the trailers, and like they're pretty. They don't really try and hide it to be fair, and a lot of even like the initial story bits, but then just to go from like that scene to then just like her dead on the ground, and so to be like, so yeah, and Ganondorf with this horrible like
terrible like nightmare face. I was like, Jesus, like this game is dark.
Yeah, just like holy shit. And then like he like Robert shows up and gets mad, and then they like warp away, and just like that was like the third one. I was like, okay, holy shit. This went to like 10, and that's when I went like, okay, I want to maybe try and figure out if there's like an order to this.
So I did them in order, but like I kind of just like I knew the next one I would want to do, but I just was like, all right, it's on the back burner. Once I get to him, I'll get to him, because usually I would like go do a Sky Island, and I'd look down and be like, okay, this one is around.
There's one there, yeah.
But I knew, like, I figured there would be some kind of reward for doing the dungeons. Couldn't in my wildest dreams have comprehended what it would be. So I was like, I should do one of them relatively early. Like, this isn't like a thing where I should wait.
I had a similar approach where it was like, but even early on was still just like, I think I was like at like 35, 40
like 30
hours. I hit that point where it's like, okay, let me just go see one and just see what happens. And then,
and I wanted to know if there was dungeons, right? Like,
exactly. Like that was, and I think, having done, well, I guess you've done 5 of them. Spoilers, surprise, surprise, as you learn as you play.
Technically 6 if you include Hyrule Castle.
Sure, yeah. I did the Rito first. I think you did as well.
Yeah, I did the Rito first.
Talked about it, and that's I think that also helps, like stages it, because like that is still probably my favorite one.
Yeah,
like it's incredible. All the way to it, just because like, I think again, like I said, we talked about it a little bit already, but like, no, not during the podcast rather, but you do that initial part, and since it was the first one, I didn't know, like, I was like, you're jumping across like the big islands in the sky, slowly working your way up to the big storm in the sky. So you're sometimes just like, okay, we're building up to this, and like,
is this the dungeon?
Is this the dungeon? Like, yeah, you're like fighting the
are we
creatures.
Just gonna go in and do a boss and like that's it?
Yeah, like what does this mean? And then you like get so high up and you're like bouncing up the things, and it's like you're getting higher and higher, and it's crazy because you literally like don't go, like I thought like an issue just like, oh, you just like go in, or like maybe you're like gonna ascend through the bottom somehow.
No, you're going to the top, baby.
Yeah, you go all the way literally to the top and like drop into it, and then it's just like, oh, there's just a big ass actual temple here, and it literally just blew my mind when you just like drop and land on this thing, and it just says Wind Temple like in like the like the overlay. You're just like, that was the fucking dungeon to get there. What the fuck?
Yeah,
fucking losing my mind.
I lost it. Like we talked about this. Like to put the controller down, like take a deep breath kind of moment. Like
yes, it was crazy. And then
like I loved just all the characters that come with you. Tulin, obviously, I think Tulin is so great.
Tulin's cool. Yeah, I like it.
And his ability of like kind of pushing you forward while you're gliding,
like an air boost.
Yeah. Like the closest Zelda has gotten to an air dash, basically, which is wild but awesome, and it's great. It's like it makes sense to me why like most of the characters kind of tell you to go there first, because it's definitely like one of the most useful abilities as far as traversal.
Yeah,
and just like going through like this big ship in the sky, it was like a dream come true.
Yeah, so cool. And then it's so cool. And then you do the dungeon. It feels very like a proper dungeon in Zelda sense, and like just like having those moments where you're like, you literally have to like jump off the side and like glide around and like find your way into like these frozen like pieces of the ship that you have to break open. Just super fun, really cool. I definitely remember making like a really dumb ice contraption where I stuck like a bunch of big pieces of ice and stuck them together, and then it was to get one of the chests. That's what it was. Where there's like a chest behind like a grating, and there's like a little like slot in it. And I stuck like 4 icicles together, slid them through to the chest, attached the chest to them, and then pulled it out.
And pulled it back like a fishing rod. Yes, that's so great.
I remember doing that and be like, yes, fucking this game's so fucking good.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah, but you do the dungeon and do all the stuff, and then
they took the format from Breath of the Wild, where it's like you got to find 5, 4, 6 things.
Find these little like turbine things, and then you do a boss battle, and that's like probably one of my favorite video game boss battles, like almost ever, or more like in like many recent years. Like that was incredible.
It's just epic. The music. It's like this epic
orchestration of like the Rito
Dragon Roost
Village,
Island,
and the Rito Village music and shit. Like, oh my god, it's so good.
I like chills that whole time, and like it feels like Tulin's with you that whole time. He's like, let's do this, and then he's like yelling at you, like you're fighting together. It's like, it's so cool. It is like on a level that I didn't think Zelda could ever even reach.
Yeah, exactly. And like it set the stage for those in a way that I was like not fully prepared for. And in fairness, I think admittedly, like I liked all of the other dungeons quite a lot, but I don't think they hit that high for me, admittedly, as that first one did. And I think it was definitely like an expectations and like not knowing what to expect from these that like made that one like push up to that level.
Yeah, that's the most epic one, and certainly like maybe the most visually like crazy, but I did love all the other dungeons too.
They're all really fun. Like the Gerudo one felt very like classic, like Zelda.
It felt like a
Gerudo,
classic
where you're like literally like aligning mirrors and like shooting light beams through this like kind of like sand cave dungeon, and then you fight the big creepy like Gibdo like zombie creatures.
Gibdo Queen.
Yeah, which that was really cool. Like cool thing to see, because I remember seeing like one of them in a trailer. And they that seeing them for like hours and hours of the game, and Gerudo ended up being the last one I did. So I was like, I wonder like where are these things? Like they weren't underground or anything. And you get to the desert and boom, they're like the first thing you see. And you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And then like that was cool, and like discovering that like they're like weak to like elemental attacks, and like that's where it like really teaches you more directly. Granted, like I was like 80 some hours into the game, so I fully knew well, but like just having that. Seeing clearly that they were like teaching the like, oh yeah, put lightning or fire or ice or this or that on stuff to get different reactions, and these enemies are like strong or weak against these things was cool.
Yeah, I at some point for the Gibdo guys, like after I got all the memories right and had I won't necessarily spoil what goes on, but I had my entire heart shattered into a million pieces.
Yeah.
Very good. And I love that, again, like the memories and stuff, like it feels like a concurrent plot in a lot of ways. It's a lot much stronger than the memories from Breath of the Wild.
Agreed,
which I also liked. I'm not like one of those memory haters from Breath of the Wild that thought all the story was in the past or whatever. I think they do a good job of like having a lot of story going on right now, and having Zelda going on her own kind of hero's journey in the past. That then like what happens there ties into what happens in the present in a really cool way, that like when you get to that kind of final moment, I was like, no, what? Like what is happening?
Yes.
In a great way. But yeah, after I did all that, I was like, man, do you remember the murals that you see at the beginning, and 3 of them were covered up by rocks?
Yeah,
I was like, I'm gonna find those murals. So I went under Hyrule Castle.
Oh, you went right there. Okay.
This is like one dungeon in. I'd just done all the memories, so I was not ready for this for sure. And I'm like fighting my way through it. The music there is like bonkers bananas good.
And
I'm terrified, and I'm fighting my way. And like there's Gibdos like right before you get into that room with the murals. But I like got there, and you look at the murals, and it like kind of like ties back into everything. I was like, oh, this game. Like, and then I just immediately warped out of there. I was like terrified. But yeah, so like I loved that, I kind of had the freedom to go do that and just kind of explore.
Because like, I would, again, some spoilery stuff, but like it seems like the thing you could do in Breath of the Wild, where you just go right to the end of the game, is totally doable in this game.
Yes,
and like
you can do it.
What does that mean? Like I've not.
I did it. I will let you know. I made a second file just so I could see what would happen.
Oh, wow, okay.
Similarly, right, like you have to fight all the bosses
okay.
by yourself. But there are 6 bosses instead of 4. You have to fight all the bosses, including the Hyrule Castle boss and the 5th Temple boss.
Okay.
And fighting that 5th Temple boss without what you get at the 5th Temple is very difficult.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, they went all in.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. I'm very excited to see the people who like speedrun this game and how they approach that kind of stuff. That's pretty wild. What else? Yeah, like there's other I'm thinking of some other story bits. Yeah, we don't have to talk about like the end stuff necessarily.
I'll say like the last 2 hours of this game I think are some of the best final 2 hours of any video game I've ever played.
Yeah, that was I really was happy with the ending of this game as well.
It was like emotional, it was epic, it was challenging.
Yeah.
It was everything that I wanted and more. And like yeah, I like went through the effort of like finding the Tunic of the Wild set, and I like maxed out the level. So like you gotta imagine I'm there. Link's dressed like Link, he's got the hat on, he's got the Master Sword.
That's awesome.
It was like I was in ecstasy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't get the wild suit, but I did get like his suit, the outfit he was wearing, like in the openings. Sure. And I got all that set up and went in, and yeah, that's just incredible fight, incredible end sequence that blew me away in a different way that I did not expect.
Yeah.
So much. And
do you want to talk about the first time you ran into the Gloom Hands?
The Gloom Hands, mine was pretty early on because I was just running around the Hyrule field early on, and just had that moment where I was climbing around on stuff, and I think I was trying to figure out how to get to one of the towers, and just was I think it worked out for me because it was I think it started spawning, and I didn't realize it because I didn't see any of those yet, and then was already kind of up on a cliff, and then I was as I was climbing, I just saw all this stuff, the whole entire sky turned fucking red, and you're just I was what the fuck, and all of a sudden you just see the hands in the corner, and I'm just what the fuck, and they just
so scary.
Ran,
they're screaming.
Just ran higher up this cliff, and then it just kind of dissipates, and I was Jesus, what the fuck is this thing? What are they doing to me? Yeah, I remember that too.
I was on Lanayru Mountain trying to get to the tower at the top of that, and along the path at some point Gloom Hands show up, and they start they grabbed me, they killed me 4 times. I was I have no idea what the fuck is happening right now. I can't take a picture of these things. They're not in the monster book, so I don't know why. And then much later on, I fought some, and then it's okay, they turn into fucking Phantom Cannon.
Yeah, you lose my mind. So the one I found, the first one I actually ended up fighting was when you first go into so there's the one you fight in the it was in the Korok stuff. So when you go there, and I dropped down and was figured all that stuff, and you find the freaking Deku tree just mummified or whatever. You're just Jesus Christ. It's a whole intense sequence there. And so you end up going down into the tree, and you drop down. There's just one there, and I was all right, well, time to deal with this thing. Let's see how this goes. I fought it, and that was that moment of just you beat the hands, and then you just see a health bar just appear into this fucking Phantom Ganon, and you're just what the fuck?
Yeah, I love that because
it's amazing. Yeah,
I don't know if there's many NPCs that kind of tell you to go check out the Korok Forest, right? Because I never at any point.
There's nothing really over there because I definitely remember just wanting to go over there just to see what's up, because I think there's definitely that natural thing of just I just want to go to each little area from as I knew it to just see what's happening here, and then I'll, figure out how to approach it.
Because a lot of people had speculated that the Great Deku Tree had disappeared, and then you look over there's a big fog over there. When I did that tower that's kind of north of there, you see it's this big purple cloud. I went in and I tried to bring a torch in the Lost Woods, and I kept getting thrown back, and then I tried to skydive in. I was oh man, how do you get in there? I'm you probably gotta go under. So I went under, and
figure it out, and you go underground. It's cool.
Go through all that, and then you ascend up back there, and then you go into the Great Deku Tree, very Ocarina of Time style. Again, this game does great, incredible things. And you fight Phantom Ganon. It I felt I went on this whole adventure just because I saw a thing. It's just
exactly It's so cool that they naturally just spring that upon you. And also how did you discover that there was that the fifth dungeon, more or less?
I was trying to figure out the Storm Islands.
I just kind of went up there because it's there's this big island in the storm, there's got to be something weird or interesting going over there, and I just went up there and figured my way up there.
I managed to find an underway because I thought that maybe there was a shrine in there that you would find to make the storm go away. Little did I know, you just got to progress the story. And I would after that point opens up in the story, I looped back around to
that's what I did as well.
But I found it early, so I did everything early before I ended up doing Hyrule Castle. And I just found it in there, and you find this big door that's a heart door, and I was oh, this is whatever's going on here is very important, probably. And I just went through there. I had enough hearts, and because I was 80 hours in the game or whatever. And I just was I have no idea what this is. I don't know where this is going. You find the mask, you hear the voice talking to you, and I was I'm doing this, whatever it is, I'm doing it. And great. I love like stumbling into that and just having that be a part of my discovery journey.
Yeah.
And not being a thing I was told to go to. It made it feel like a secret temple.
Yeah.
In a really cool way.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just stumbled into that. I didn't fully do it at that point when I stumbled into it, because I realized it was like a main story thing, and I wanted to like. So I like went. I went into the heart door and then like went underground, and then it was straight up just like, you need to do these things, and it was straight up like I'm starting like a temple essentially, and I was like, what the fuck? And then like once I realized it was that, I left and then came back later and did all that.
Like when we were talking at some point about it, like before you had done that and then after I had done it, like, and I was like, there's still wild shit left ahead of you. Yeah. I was talking about like what you get as a reward for that template.
Yes, we could talk. I think we could talk about just this. Like, like you get you piloting a robot suit, basically, and you can literally attach like any kinds of zone device. Admittedly, I kind of don't like controlling it, but like having it just like run around with you, and like you can just like attach like all the different zone bits just to it and just let it do things, and then like it'll just like fuck around and fight stuff. It's like that's so cool. You just like put laser beams on its arms and just like slices around. You can like I put like cannons or like the freeze ice on them, so it just freezes everything. It's just like very silly. And it should mention too, like when you complete a dungeon, people probably know, some people probably know this, but like when you complete a dungeon, you learn that like these characters that you're bonding with are like based like the new sages, as we kind of theorized from a lot of like the pre-release stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's even more beyond that, because then you essentially just get like them as like party members, basically, and they're just running around with you the whole time. So like later in that game, you literally just have a whole ass posse of like ghost
D&D party,
ghost friend, like ghost like sage friends, and you can just use their like abilities at any time, and they're all with you. You can dismiss them and like have them go away if you want, but you can also just have all of them running around with you the entire game, which is like wild and insane.
It's so fun. It's like, it's such a cool thing that, because then you can obviously use their abilities and stuff, and you need those to get to certain things and access certain things. But yeah, like for like those first like 40 hours where it was just like me and Tulin on an adventure, I was like, this is so cool. Like, I love this. Yeah. And you can like level them up as well with like items you find in the Sky Islands. I like, once I had the full squad of 6, I was like, all right, I guess this is my new favorite video game.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a cool moment of just like completing my second dungeon, which I did the Goron second, and just having that moment of just like, oh, it's not just one of them. They're like, I just had both of them, and they're with me. And I was like, does this just keep going? Can I just have all of them? And you learn to just have a whole fucking bossy and just like hanging out with you, and they'll fight with you, and like you can use their abilities. I think overall though, like I think that I like some of the previous abilities from the first game still a little more than some of theirs. Sure. I think the lightning thing that the Gerudo lady does is a little bit awkward to use, I think, sometimes, where it's like,
sure.
And also sometimes I totally have that thing where I'm like trying to pick stuff off the ground and I randomly activate stuff
for abilities.
I'm just like, oh, wait, get away. Yeah. It's like, it's fine ultimately just to have them sort of running around with you, do stuff. So it's like, that's like fine, like trade off, but like, yeah.
It's definitely geared. It feels like geared of like, okay, once you're in the depths and like things are much more dangerous, like it helps just to have a little of the pressure taken off.
Yeah. They can take stuff, take the aggro for you, or, you knock a dude down, you just beat up on dude. It's like that, it's like that JoJo. So fun. It's the JoJo meme of like the dudes just like stomping on everybody kicking.
It is really fun. Like anytime you're fighting a boss, like when you go to like a damage phase, like everyone just like rolls in and just starts, Sidon's got the spear. He's just like
stabbing them. Yeah.
I mean, like one of the late game things I did because I finally felt ready was like, I'm gonna go Gleeok hunting. Which was
I mostly did that like once I had beaten the game, but like I went and like just followed the Gleeoks, and like those are like cool.
Those are like so fun fights.
All the extra like because you had like some of like the little mini boss style enemies in the first game, like the Hinoxes and like those things, but then all the new ones that you have are like more intricate, interesting battles that are like super cool. Like the Gleeoks have like phases to their battles. Like if you do certain amounts of damage to them, they'll like move into different positions and use different attacks that you like have to like manage and stuff.
And I love the music that like specifically only plays during Gleeok fights to make them. It's like this crazy horn section that is like bonkers bananas, and it goes super crazy when it's like a damage phase where you can finally hit them. But yeah, just like how all of them like end up flying into the sky after you get them below 1/3 left, and then you have to like figure out a way to chase them into the sky and shoot them down. It's bananas.
It's so cool. And some of them are like in really interesting like scenarios where you like have to try and fight them. Like there's like the one that's like sort of like near Gerudo Desert that's like up on a pillar, so you have to like figure out how to like get on the pillar to like adequately fight it because it has the high ground, look out Anakin. But and there's the freaking lightning Gleeok that's in the Colosseum, so you're just like in this like confined area with the freaking Gleeok. You're just like, oh god, I'm ascending through these things to try and dodge stuff, but I don't want to go too high because it'll like lightning strike me and like summon lightning and shit. And it's so cool.
Yeah, I loved all those fights, and then there's stronger Gleeoks out there as well to look out for. Yeah. I like the Froxes.
I have to go find one of those higher level Gleeoks still, but yeah, the Froxes are really fun. They're like underground, and like that was like the immediate super cool like callback to like fighting Dodongos and Ocarina of just like as soon as I saw it like open its mouth, I'm like, oh, I immediately know what to do.
I gotta throw a bomb in here.
Yeah, I immediately know what to do, motherfucker, and just threw it in there, and you just jump on its back. Yeah, super fun. I loved like admittedly they didn't seem as interesting, but the construct box fights, like those like started as like, okay, they aren't interesting, but then like how you can use all the four core abilities against it in different ways, like as I learned that, as I progressed through that, and just learning like, oh, I can straight up just like ultra hand either just like grab the core and rip it out itself to attack it, or you can like literally piece by piece
strip it away.
And if you like strip its feet away, it gets rid of its like attacks, or when it does attacks, it doesn't actually hit. Or if you you do like you can do that. You can also fuse the things too, so you can do like a similar thing where you can like fuse a box real time off of it and like put it on your weapon to like fight it. Or it's like it has like different phases too, where it like straight up just like goes up in the sky as a big square, and you can like ascend up into it to get onto it. Or like it shoots boxes off of it, and you can recall those boxes to get on top of it. It's just like it uses all the abilities in the single like fight. That's crazy. It's
so cool
and smart
and
way to like.
I just love how they like move too. Just like the animation and stuff is so sick. And yeah, like similarly of like some of those are like underground and it's different, and some of those are like on isolated sky islands and they're different. Some of them are along the path to dungeons. And some have like very good rewards as well. Again, just leaning into like very good rewards kind of around every corner.
Yeah, super cool. And like having even just like common enemies be more like interesting, and like having the different ways you can approach them by using like fusing things, like making them fight each other with like the flowers, or like like learning that like, oh, like it makes total sense that the construct robots you fight are like weak to electricity, so you just shoot them with electricity, and just like the other elemental stuff, they'll just like get one shot most of the time, and you can just like take them out immediately with like electric stuff. Or I guess,
or like those areas where constructs have fallen from the sky and they're next to like an encampment of bokoblins or moblins or something, and you can like destroy the barricade between the two, and they'll just start fighting each other.
Yeah. God, it's
so fun.
Yeah, it's so much. There's just so much crazy stuff. God, yeah. Well, I feel like we could keep going, but I think
we've covered enough.
And I don't like, we can talk more in-depth spoilery stuff another time.
Yeah, I think we're
the proper end, and
I'm hoping to do a more dedicated spoiler cast for something like that.
Yeah,
we'll
for
figure
sure.
something out.
We'll figure something out for sure. Maybe for a future episode, or maybe like a kind of like maybe like separate like special or something. We'll figure it out. But yeah, man,
what a game!
Tears of the Kingdom, yeah, phenomenal video game that
it's so
playing.
Rare that you like are so excited for a game, and then it's better than what you think it's going to be.
Yeah,
by a lot,
by like a country mile. It's like above and beyond anything. It's so impressive, and like it's we said like, yeah, if they just keep making games like Zelda, I'm cool. Keep making Nintendo Switch, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Who cares about let's not think about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
It shows that like whatever the Zelda team is like on something right now. Like they are at the top of their game, and I am just like so humbled and impressed by them. So grateful to the work they put into this. Like they've made something that is like truly special, that is going to withstand time forever. I think like this is, in a lot of ways, it's like the ultimate Zelda game. Like there are shades of Majora's Mask in how like after you save a part of the kingdom, it like changes and then it like transitions, like when the snow all melts at the Rito village. I was like, oh man, this is like reminding me of like doing the mountain stuff in Majora's Mask, and it's got shades of Ocarina, like we said, and it got like all the best parts of all of your favorite Zelda games, even down to like getting treasure maps like in Wind Waker, right? Like it's so crazy that they like tied all this together but made it feel like this really original, new, fresh thing, even on top of it reusing the map of Breath of the Wild, right? It doesn't like, I don't even think about that when I'm playing this game.
Yeah, pretty much. Or like, it's like exciting to think about when you think about it. It's like, oh, it's like this place has changed, and like there's like way more things going on here.
Characters are doing stuff. Like the people that I remember are doing things and making changes to the world.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, the one thing I will say that I will throw like a light criticism at is like, I did wish that they didn't just kind of not acknowledge Breath of the Wild and the major capacities, where it's like, I feel like there's just a ton of people who like don't even know who Link is, but then there's tons of people who do know who Link is, and like, I don't need everybody being like, oh my god, the hero, blah, like groveling at him, like that kind of like thing, right? But like, I think just like, I would have appreciated them being like, oh, even some throwaway stuff of like, oh, that's why there's no like guardians or like, Sheikah technology really prominently that was like so important to Breath of the Wild, like just like is like almost non-existent in this game. In a way that's like I get they maybe wanted to find the balance of like, hey, you can play this game without having that knowledge of that previous game, but I don't think they needed to go as hard as they did. And I think having a couple more things that like, showed the people who like, played a lot of Breath of the Wild, and that was like, one of the best selling games in the Switch, so a lot of people played it, so I feel like they didn't need to like go as hard as they did to like not really acknowledge it in that way. But like, other than like, at the end of the day, like it didn't like ruin the experience by any means at all, obviously, how we've been talking about it all this time. But it was definitely something I constantly noticed while playing. It was like, oh man, it would have been nice to be like, you show up and at least there's like something in Terry Town that acknowledges like Link had a part of it to be involved with, or like, going to other places, and then like these characters being more knowledgeable about like, oh yeah, we did have this big freaking divine beast that was like doing stuff that was important. I'm like, why isn't this here at this important moment? I guess maybe because they didn't want it to be like taken over again or whatever. Like, but it feels like it's just not acknowledged as much as I would have hoped.
Yeah, it is odd. I think that was them trying to like get ahead of criticisms of like it being too similar to Breath of the Wild.
Right.
I would have been down for like a hidden guardian fight, like a secret boss. Or something like
for sure.
that.
Like just like you're like in the end. Yeah, if you're just like in the underground, the darkness, and all of a sudden you just see like the
beeping.
Like, that would have been like
totally would have
awesome.
been down. But, I appreciate they also like went super hard in the opposite direction of like, no, we're just going to do new stuff. It's all going to be new, and all that iconography and all that stuff is gone. I see both sides to it, but I definitely felt that a little bit as well of like, wow, yeah, we're just out of Breath of the Wild. I guess we're
nothing, not even going to acknowledge. Like the most acknowledgement you get is like that, like you said, like the school teaching side quests where like the dude straight up just like the calamity happened, and the kids are like, oh, okay, and then like and that's it, and then so you're kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
and that was kind of like the bigger piece. Besides like some of like the stuff in the initial like Pura kind of acknowledges like you are this person with Zelda and other stuff like that, but it really does not acknowledge much outside of that.
Yeah, I like that some characters know who you are though. Like the Pelipper guy. I don't know what his name. He looks like Pelipper from Animal Crossing.
yeah.
The journalist guy from the newspaper. like he doesn't know who you are, but Tracy does, and she's like, we should let's just not tell him.
This is not good. This is not deal with it. Yeah.
I think that's fun, and they play around with that in a fun way. Like all the Zora like revere you.
Yeah,
Sidon has made a statue of you riding on his back.
Yeah, like literally. That was pretty amazing just to see that as the centerpiece. And they literally moved his sister's statue to like some hillside completely opposite of that, and it's just like, geez, all right.
To be fair, she's got her own like waterfall thing set up.
Yeah, it's true.
It was so funny that I was like, oh look, it's Sidon, and it's like, oh shit, that's me on his back. It's like zooms in on Link's face. Yeah, it's so funny. And I saw like a tweet of like Yona, who's Sidon's wife, is like, like, you know, he always talks about you. It's like, girl, I don't know how to tell you about a man who's emotionally unavailable, but there's a statue of Link riding him like a horse in your town.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if he's all in on this marriage with you. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure he's my husband.
Yeah, that was really funny. But yeah. At the end of the day, like it did not like at all ruin any kind of experience, but it was
I mean, you know, there's like frame rate stuff that happens. We talked about having a bunch of spirits with you. Sometimes frame rate is not
it's pretty rough. You definitely get in some spots where it's pretty rough, and I definitely feel the difference of like, you know, going from we played a crap ton of this game up till finish, and then, you know, we the podcast we do for Destiny 2, I switched to Destiny. It was like, whoa, 60 frames, whoa. Like, I felt like it was like, you know, it was probably normally that high frame rate for Destiny, of course, but it like definitely felt like they update something to make this like run even smoother. Like, did they do something? Or
absolutely.
Is it just me? Just like
30 FPS mode, but it's also like, you know, we just played Jedi Survivor, and that game has like a very rough performance.
Yeah, that's also
compared to something like this that is like at the very least very consistent and very stable for the most part. So it was a lot of frame rate stuff going on in that as well,
for sure.
But yeah, this is one for the ages. We did that like a little release podcast of like, hey, like, you know, turn off social media and stuff, and I totally did that. I like, you know, removed Twitter from my phone for like a full week, and I was just like hanging out, enjoying the adventure. And it is like, I will remember that first week that I played this game for the rest of my life. It was like truly magical.
I saved like a ton of just random clips.
Me too.
I forgot to like share around, but I just have like clips on my Switch, or like clips even on my computer of just like all the random just junk I was trying to do, or just like again, in one of the early crazy things I saw. I keep talking about this all the time, but like seeing for the first time one of the fucking dragons going into the underground, like fucking lost my mind. That was a moment where I would like put my controller down. I was like, what the fuck is happening in this video game? Because I was like,
there were many of those moments.
I was in like Kakariko Village, like just like wandering around, like in like, this is the like, you know, hour 5 or whatever, like very early, just like Kakariko Village, just walking around and just like walking up a hill, trying to get like around to like this like shrine, and just seeing a tail of a dragon just like behind like a mount, like the angle made it look like it was behind the mountain. And I was like, that dragon's going like, wait, how is it so low but so close? Like, what is going on? And like going up the hill and just seeing like the gloom coming out of the ground, just like, oh, it's fucking going underground. What the fuck? And that was just like,
they can't go in the sky anymore. The sky barrier is gone.
Go underground. Just losing my mind at that. And then that was my moment of like, I had to go see that mural of like going back to the game and powering up, and then going back to that hole and seeing the dragon go in and jumping in with the dragon to see what it does, and just realizing you can also now like stand and ride on the fucking dragons in this game. And just like,
so cool.
Amazing.
I'll say, here's a pro tip for all you kids out there trying to max out your armor, because I did this. You could just stay on the dragon. After 10 minutes, it'll get another charge where you get another piece. So you just chill out on that dragon and like learn its route.
It'll just light back up, and then you can just shoot pieces off it again.
Yeah, super helpful, which I really appreciated. So I just like had some anime. I was watching some anime while farming some dragons. So it was very chill.
Oh God, yeah. Incredible game. We can keep going and talking about it. I'm sure this will not be even the last we talk about it on this podcast, potentially. But I think that's a good place to call it for here, as we're getting almost at 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But yes, Yeah, that was another trip to Nintendoland. Blast to finally talk about Zelda with you, Alex. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us here, either watching us here on youtube.com/irrational passions or checking us out on podcast services. We always appreciate you hanging out. Yeah, we'll be back probably, who knows? Again, we don't know about June Direct stuff. If they end up doing one sometime in June, we'll be back probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
To talk about that post-mortem or whatever on the podcast. If not, we'll probably come back in by July, talk about whatever's happened in the meantime. But
yeah, now, and if you're looking forward to the Summer Games Fest stuff, like we'll probably be doing stuff with that, so go check it out. Still on YouTube.
Yeah, Game Fest and probably the Xbox show and stuff. Probably watching at least some of it, but probably not everything that will happen over the next few weeks. But definitely those two main things for sure. We're going to check out. But yeah, for now, see y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.